Chengdu, China, it is time for finals. It's been a wild year with the FISE, and everything comes to a head right now. Every single one of these athletes has been working for this moment right here. Chengdu, are you ready to party?
Welcome you guys live here from Chengdu, China. That's right, the FISE World Series has come out for our finale. Once again, we are here, I think, for the 6th year in a row. Started here in 2014. Welcome us back every time. So excited to get things happening. Guess what? It's going to be the UCI BMX Freestyle Park men's semifinal that's about to get going. Right now, I have Daryl now here. Daryl, how are you doing? How's the jet lag?
Ryan, so excited. Jet lag, schmet lag, because the riding, the energy, and the fans are building up here for one of the best stops of the entire FISE World Series.
An incredible contest that we have going on. You guys see this course right in the background, but guess what? We are in Chengdu, one of the most incredible cities out here in China, 14 million inhabitants, but we are in the Qinshui City Park region, just located outside of the city center. If you guys are able to make it down to this event, we still have 2 days of action coming your way, so make sure you end up out here because we had the final Sunday, the big day happening tomorrow, but some big stuff happening right out here today. Let's take a look back and recap what's been going on the tour. We started things off in Japan, Hiroshima to be specific. Things got lit up there in Japan. Then we moved over to Montpellier, our European stop this year on the tour, and one of the main stops for the FISE World Series, then ending up here in Chengdu, China, finishing up like we always do every single year. We're making it an annual one for you guys. Things are heating up though. We have a lot of action for BMX and moving forward to the 2020 Olympic Games. That means Chengdu has some big points going on for us. Daryl, why don't you walk me through a bit of the action that's going to be happening for 2020 Olympics?
Yeah, Ryan, the big name and big words in freestyle: Olympics. That's what it's about. For the first time ever in July and August in 2020, we are going to have BMX freestyle in the games. This is huge. Most riders never thought that that was possible when they first started riding. So the fact that this is going on, just imagine the level of competition we're going to see. But to break it down, you want to find all the information on UCI.org. That will show you the riders, the list, the countries. But essentially, we're going to have 18 riders, 9 men, 9 women who are going to be making it in. The riders are representing their countries out here, and they are going to be trying to get the top points for themselves, and then that's going to translate to their national ranking for the countries. We're going to talk more about that, but just know that at the FISE World Series, the biggest riders are coming out to really bring their A game. So Ryan, we're going to see the highest level of riding out here.
Yeah, I mean, so much content going on that you've just briefly touched on. Like you said, you can go to UCI.org and figure it out, but main thing to know, huge points battle going on in Chengdu here for the next 2 weeks for BMX freestyle. Of those people all wanting to go to the Olympics, guys, stay tuned. We have some big action, but as you see there on the bottom right corner of your screen, this is the new park sculpted by Hurricane Parks. We have some new coping system. Daryl, walk me through some of the highlights here.
Yeah, this is such a great park. Hurricane always outdoes themselves. The main things to take note, though, is in the middle, we've got that spine spox, what we like to call it. It's an extended box jump spine. It's a little mellower than we've had in the past. That's going to offer riders a bigger opportunity to do some huge tricks over that. Taking a look right there, you can actually see on the right side of your screen that vert wall with the spine feature in front of it, opening new lines for riders to really transfer. And then on the far side of the course, we do have that big hip that can favor riders jumping left and right. And there's also 2 grind features that are going to give riders opportunities for uniqueness out there.
Incredible park right there. Looks like so much fun. A lot of the riders saying it feels also just like a bowl section, but has some really cool sub box as well. Let's talk about the 24 riders who are going through this competition.
Yeah, we had our qualifier yesterday. 24 riders are going to be in the semifinal. We're breaking them down into 6 heats of 4 riders apiece. There's going to be 2 runs up to 60 seconds per rider, and it is so important to note that the best run is going to count. The reason you want to know that is because riders have the 2 runs, and they're going to potentially nail 2 perfect runs, but in that second run, they're going to have an opportunity to change their format, or as far as maybe their strategy out there. You know, if a rider falls, they'll be able to come back, so that's a very important thing to know.
Talking about strategy, we work into the judges, also moving into the criteria of the judgment: difficulty, amplitude, originality and style, control and execution, and exploration of the park. What does that really mean?
Yeah, Ryan, this park was designed specifically for the event, so the judges want to see the way that the rider's able to find their own voice out here, doing some staple tricks that they know, but how they bring something new to the party and also their own voice. So we're taking a look at our 6 iconic judges. We've got the street legend from USA, Van Homan; UK's Dave Cleworth; Australia's Dave Dilworth; from Croatia, we have Igor Vukadinovic; from France, we have Romuald Noro; and from Slovenia, we have Luka Kovic. But the thing to also note is that we've got the UCI technical delegate, Bart de Jong, who is working with the UCI to make sure that the level of competition is on Olympic standards, and also that everything is just done to a T, where it's as fair as possible for the riders out here, but also how does this fit in for that Olympic qualifying period? It started back in 2018, and it goes up until May 11, 2020. So not only do we have the FISE World Series, which are some of the highest points a rider can get, but there's been national, there's been regional events, there's been continental events, and Bart and the UCI have been working, creating that foundation for all of our riders. Again, UCI.org to find out where that information as far as the points go, or if you want to join yourself. But Ryan, this is all about the FISE World Series. This event has been going on for many years. This has been the standard for riders to put their name on the map. This is open to all riders to compete, and basically they want to be on top of this podium. Last year, Marin had top honors, but this year, coming into the top, our 3rd and final stop, we actually have 5 riders who are so close to potentially ride away with that top spot. But as we get ready, Ryan, we're taking a look at our course right here. We still have riders practicing for some last few moments and getting ready to go.
If you guys want to follow us as well online, make sure you, of course, check us out on social media, FISE World and FISE Official on Facebook. Make sure you guys hashtag your posts to stay involved with all the action out here, FISE Chengdu. But if you guys are following in China as well, you can get us on WeChat. Just go into the WeChat discovery bar, type in FISE, F-I-S-E, or respectively, read in Mandarin, and you can find your channel there. Let's take a look at the 24 riders right now.
The first 12, we have Jonathan Camacho, we have Florian Ferrazzi, Paul Tollan, Alec Denoliti, Roman Kladmins, Alex Nikulin, Bryce Chiron, Jake Wallwork, Sam Jones, Daniel Sandoval, Marin Rantesh, Anthony Jean-Jean, Justin Dowell, Eric Reisev, Brandon Lupos, Ben Wallace, Declan Brooks, Jack Clark, Logan Martin, Alex Coleborn, Kostya Andreev, Rim Nakamura, Kevin Peraza, and our top qualifier, Nick Bruce.
Wow.
I can't believe that just literally read like a final right there. Each name was just bigger and bigger and bigger. So that's what we're seeing here. The top riders came out, wanted to be here at the FISE World Series. They made this event to really be their priority out here as far as this season goes, because this could be the biggest point for the Olympic grab.
We talk about so much how this is a finals, every single semifinals or qualification that we have going. These are the best riders in the world, but as well, we were talking on the judges. We were saying Bart de Jong, the UCI delegate who has been involved in BMX for a lifetime. What is it like to have someone like those big names, Van Homan, sitting on the judges, being able to not only put in his input for the BMX moving forward into the Olympics, but as well put in his 2 cents for who is supposed to be on top of the podium?
Ryan, that is huge. I mean, Van is an icon of the sport. He actually redefined street riding and also park riding in the 90s and 2000s. And the fact that Van is so pure to the sport, when he was involved with it, it was when it was actually a lot smaller, and he was just focused on the passion of it. So to have his expertise along with Bart and all of our judges who are driven by that, just keeping the rawness of the sport. They don't want to see something that they loved and helped grow just all of a sudden lose its roots as it winds up being on this Olympic platform. So it's so great that we do have Bart de Jong there, but we do have Van Homan, who knows all the tricks. Obviously, Van has put blood, sweat, and tears defining some of these tricks out there. So to have them involved, it's so cool. And for me, on a personal level, I actually grew up riding with Van. So back when we were 12 years old, we used to actually go to some races in Shoreham, Long Island, and also in New Jersey. So it's a trip for me being here all these years later with Van being one of our head judges and just having him put his cherry on top as far as the scores go.
It is really incredible. It's so nice to see the sport come exactly full circle. There was a lot of controversy, knowing, like you said, if we were going to be able to hold that authenticity of the sport of BMX as it goes forward into this more commercial stage of the Olympics. But it's so nice to see that they've been able to keep these key players and these key members of BMX freestyle still into this contest format and showcase, you know, some street legends moving forward into the park so that we also have that input forth for the riders. And it's really nice to also see the riding differentiation between some of the athletes. We take Kevin Peraza versus Logan Martin, and you just see the tricks versus maybe that street influence, and also you get that creativity and authenticity from the rider forecasted into their riding and into their lines.
Yeah, Ryan, that's a really good point you bring up. But as we move into our third and final stop, we have such a close points race. Only 1,000 points differentiate the top 5 riders who, after our 2 stops, Logan Martin, Justin Dowell, Rim Nakamura, Jurek Ryzev, and Brandon Lupos, as we have the FISE World Series third and final stop. Only 1,000 points separate them. So they're all going to want to be from this semifinal into the final, because that is where you get for first the 10,000 points, 9,000 for second, 8,200 for third, and so on. And it could be crucial right there. 1,000-point difference, top 5 riders.
Just an incredible points race as we have every single year going down. I think it's just weeded out to 200 points difference from first to second. But our first rider dropping in is Camacho himself. His 1 minute on the clock and a big flare whip coming out.
Yeah, Jonathan Camacho, Ecuadorian rider. So exciting to watch, high energy, and we are seeing him do the transfer with the bar spin, catching the transition smooth. Double tail whip, that's over that Spox we were talking about. Slightly mellower transitions than in the past, and a double flip for Camacho.
Wow, so slow on the rotation right there. Incredible coming out for Jonathan Camacho, but going down hard, a really slow.
So Camacho, unfortunately, going down. We are going to give a moment and just check out for Camacho. Jonathan is such a tough rider. We got some of the best medical staff out here. Sometimes a rider just needs to take a moment.
Camacho
back to his feet right here. Wow, big round of applause from our Chengdu fans showing their appreciation to Camacho. Ryan, he went down, unfortunately, extremely hard on that double backflip. That trick takes such commitment. When you wind up taking off the box jump, you have to be focused on your second rotation, regardless of how much speed you get on your first one. We saw Camacho come up a little bit short in that. He wound up hanging up his front wheel. He went over the bars, and thankfully, he is back up. You can see his alignment's off on his handlebars, but let's look at some of the highlights of his run where he wound up pulling that flat spin flare tail whip right there. So Camacho's going to get his bike worked on. We actually see Dustin Oram down there who is going to wind up helping out. Camacho will have another opportunity onto course.
Florian Peraza right now from France about to drop in here, seeing if he can be one of the French riders, jump into the finals here. Big bar spin on that hip jump coming in, a backflip bar spin over the transfer. It's really nice to see the different line selection from the riders right now. Tail whip over the channel.
Yeah, here we go. Up the vert wall, over, look at the speed into the box jump. This could be a big one. Oh! Going down on the 360 double tail whip attempt. So that's what we talked about. One of the features of this park is that big, massive vert wall before the box jump. It gives the riders as much throttle and speed as they could potentially dream of for hitting that box jump. Unfortunately, the 360 double tail whip wound up getting away from him. We know that the Frenchman's got a big bag of tricks. We never want to call anyone out, but I have a feeling he was looking to throw another trick potentially in there, and he just wound up tossing it off the side.
I mentioned it every contest, and he hit the eject button.
Florian right there waiting for his score to come in. Judges putting the first two on the mark right now.
2 runs each. Your best run.
Florian getting a 16.2. Definitely gonna have to wait and see if he can improve that one out of the second one.
Florian's score coming in right there.
That's Paul Tollan from Germany. Germany's hopeful stylish young gun. And your Red Bull rider jumping in here.
Yeah, Tollan on course. Big air, grabbing behind the seat. Tollan's style is so smooth. He rides at the 040 skate park in the Netherlands. I know that Andy Zeiss right now is cheering on Paul Tollan. He's the Vans TM as Tollan transferred across the park, going from left to right. And Ryan, look at the way he's able to have so much control right into that foot jam on the sub. Tollan with the hand plant up high. I believe that was an opposite direction foot jam because you see his pegs on one side of his bike and those were pointed in.
Wow, this really seems to be a park that is showcasing the diverse style of Mr. Tollan. 360 dumped toboggan right there, air an opposite way over that channel gap and back with another transfer bar spin right there. Really flown with the style, a hand plant on that huge vert wall. Has about 1.5 meters of vert, and that's gonna do it for Paul Tollan right there, coming out of Germany.
Yeah, so Paul maximizing his time. Again, it's 60 seconds are on the clock. A rider wants to have a big exclamation point at the end, showing the judges that they're not winded out here. They're not lost on their run. And what I mean by that is they know exactly where they're on the course and they're doing what they want to do. I mean, we don't have a written plan from these riders knowing what they're going to do. And that's the beauty of freestyle, right? The rider can select anything they want on course. And if he wound up going out there and you're showing that you're in control, you're rewarded with a big score like that, where Tollan is up on top with the 68.40.
Wow, so that's going to be the hot seat right now.
So right now, Alex Daniludi dropping in. Let's see, as he is starting out the big transfer into that vert wall. Coming up with the box, 360 tail whip, kicking it back the other way.
Known as that windshield wiper. Bar spin to tuck no hander on the quarter and bar spin back in, gathering some speed as he flows around the bowl section here. Nice tail whip to tuck no hander, going on the extended spine, truck driver over there, flowing around. Such nice ability to flow here, kind of like a bowl, but just maybe pushing out the transitions a little further. A lot of riders saying it's a little less steep than some FISE parks, but it's nicer actually to maybe pull back instead of push through some of the transitions, meaning that you can have a lot of different transfers in the course here.
So Ryan, we're going to put a little more emphasis on the country that the rider's from, because again, as we move towards the Olympics, each rider is competing for their country. So the way it works is each country will get a combined rider score. So the top 2 scores for their country will sit for their national ranking. Currently, as we move towards that Olympic cutoff, we've got USA in first, Australia in second, Russia in third, Great Britain in fourth, and Japan is sitting in fifth. So we're going to go back to the top of the list, though. This is our first heat of 6. Jonathan Camacho for Ecuador. It looks like he is going to be taking his second run to the course. He did have that really hard slam in his first one, but Camacho is definitely a wild one on and off the bike, and it looks like he is going to be taking that second run, Ryan.
And Camacho had a really hard slam on that double flip. He was just laying it out. Not just doing, you know, we used to see the double flip. That was one of the most technical tricks and one of the most risky maneuvers that you can possibly do on 2 wheels. And he just laid it out. Now starting again with that almost alley-oop flare tail whip.
Yeah, Camacho right there. You see him cutting a hard left over the pyramid with the 360. That pyramid also features some more mellow takeoffs and landing right there, where the riders are able to throw down as Camacho does the double tail whip. Let's see if he sticks with his original plan. Changing things up, 360 double tail whip.
A huge trick nonetheless, so taking one of the top tricks that you can do and switching it up, going from that double flip into a 360 double tail whip, both respectively some of the largest tricks you can do on a BMX bike. There's a 360 tail whip over the spine and going back here into the extended spine with a bar spin, carrying some speed. Camacho really has come to form in the last couple of years here at the FISE World Series and really pushing for that Olympic position as we move forward in 2019.
Yeah, so Camacho right there getting that full run in. Ryan, one thing to note, like we said, a rider we've seen over the last few years, they usually find their own voice when it comes to riding. They learn the basics, they learn the foundations, and then their own style comes out. That's what we saw in the 2018 season with Marin, where he actually is our defending champion. But with Camacho, it's so interesting. It's almost like he's honed in his riding. He was always a very wild style rider, and I mean that in the most complimentary way possible. You never know what's going to happen with him. Sometimes he'll actually jump off the ramps to flat. He's not necessarily concerned with the clock, but we're seeing this season he's actually taken way more of a format out here, and we're going to see if that score is going to reflect that. Where Camacho, all right, so he's going to sit in second, and he's going to have a 63 even right there.
Big score coming right there for Camacho. As we move forward to our French rider, Peraza. As he jumps in here with a nice bar spin and coming up into a backflip bar spin over the spine, overshooting a tiny bit. He's gonna have to work the legs, pit around the course to get a ton of speed here. Yes, getting a big double tail whip over that channel transfer, coming up over that really cool rainbow hitching post on the wall. Hurricane Parks, I just have to note, have made an amazing job pushing a new course and a new way to make the coping actually. They connected the coping in all one piece here. One of the only companies able to do that on the world tour level. As Peraza coming back here with a 1 foot can from the transfer, going up into the wall. We have beautiful weather out here in Chengdu with a huge front flip from the Frenchman.
Yeah, Brian, not only was that a front flip, but that was a transfer from the spine box to the actual box jump. France is definitely proud right now as 3, 2, 1 wall ride for Florian Ferrasi, making it done going out there. That is awesome run. That's got to be a good feeling. A rider goes out, has a crash in their first run. If they're able to redeem it, you saw that 360 double tail whip, no problems at all in the second run. So as we mentioned, this is BMX freestyle. There is a freedom to a rider on course. That's what makes it so exciting. They can choose any ramps that they take within that allotted 60 seconds. And also, they could dig into their own talent pool of tricks, where we are seeing the double tail whip across the channel. Those are basically 2 vert ramps with a big gap in between, and then the front flip putting his head over wheels, getting it done for France. So a 57 is going to be his score. As we see our first heat, you might be saying those scores seem a little low on there, but the judges sometimes don't like to back themselves up in a corner because you basically top score you could get is 100, and they like to give a little bit of breathing room for the riders as they work through. That doesn't take away from the riders, because regardless of the numeric value, top 12 do move on to our final. All right, the German rider right now, the stylish precision rider of Paul Tollan dropping in.
Mr. Tollan coming into the course, had an incredible first run actually with style. Yes, boosting that transfer over that peaked hitching post, sailing up with the Condor, that tuck no-hander over the Hurricane Parks. Huge transfer back up into the vert wall, and another massive transfer all the way from the box jump lip over that hitching post into a beautiful foot jam on top of the sub box there.
So we are seeing a similar format run from his first, and a rider can sometimes wind up throwing a few more tricks because it's about balancing the risk versus reward while they're on course, and that was an opposite direction transfer into a big dipped out 360.
So a very similar run, like you had said, Daryl, from his first run. I noticed, though, taking out the toboggan from that 360, also not putting in the hand plant there on the wall. I think he might be going for a couple different ones, like that 180 to fakie. A huge trick thrown in the semi-qualifications right here. The judges are going to be noting that one.
Yeah, so if you're going to land backwards like that, your momentum is changing, obviously 180 degrees, and then to get that rollout as smooth as Paul did, just flawless, shows the bike control, because obviously he had it on lock for the 59 seconds prior going forward. You see him getting some high fives up there. We actually have Matthias Dandois who's cheering him on, loving his run. They are teammates on Vans, but take a look right here. Tabletop is completely folded upside down and then set up for that backflip transfer, floating right over that A-frame grind rail. And then here's a look at the transfer in the opposite direction. You can see it's a non-traditional direction, especially because the way that his pegs are on his bike. Dipping out the 3 right there, and then over with the 180, taking that spin so smooth as he lands backwards. So Paul definitely has that traditional style rear wheel. That's why that his cranks engagement backwards as opposed to a free coaster. Woo! So it looks like a 69.40. He's going to go up with 1 more point. Not enough to crack into a 70, but very impressive nonetheless.
So there you go, from heat number 1. That's going to be our top rider right now. Our rider to beat, but then we have Alec Denuliti about ready to drop in right now for his last 1 minute on the clock. Alex Denuliti charging across course for the big transfer. What does he have? A huge one.
Denuliti, there we go. That windshield wiper again. Australia pumped right now as we are seeing the bar spin right across. Let's see where he's going to go. Hitting it back the other direction on the hip with the tail whip. So comfortable. Looked like he was potentially going for a tuck no-hander. 360 with the bar spin, known as the truck driver. Hitting that halfway mark with a 360 double tail whip over that spine. Thing to note on that spine as well, it's got about a 12-inch deck up top. It's not a coping, kissing, where it gives the riders a little more freedom to get those big tricks in.
Woo, going for that 360 tail whip to tuck no-hander, not quite getting the extension on that tuck no-hander, pulling back there. Oh, getting that transfer, that's a hard one to note. It's a blind takeoff going for that 360, another blind takeoff going the opposite way, and a huge flip flare whip right there.
Yeah, so Ryan, one thing I want to note to somebody that's maybe new to BMX freestyle, you really want to flow around the course. If a rider takes pedals on the course where they're maybe not needed and they could generate momentum by pumping on through, they're going to potentially be penalized for it. But if a rider's maybe going for a big transfer or gap, like Alec did for his first hit into the vert wall, pedals usually won't be deducted in there, but the judges want to see if a rider's got that control, they got the power and the flow, the more they can pump and generate their speed using the course, the more favorable that will translate to their numeric value. But we saw some big hips right there. Australia's Alec Denuliti getting it done. Let's see where the score comes in. You can actually see the Australian flag on his helmet right there, showing and representing, trying to be up there. Right now, Australia currently sitting second for the national ranking. Brandon Lupos and Jake Wallwork are the top 2 riders for Australia with those points. They are just behind USA's Justin Dowell and Daniel Sandoval, who are the top 2 scored riders for the USA. Let's see where it's going to be. Second, he's going to be sitting there with an 65.80. So we're not going to see a full picture, though, until we work our way through our qualifier, because, again, it's top 12 riders will.
Alexander, Nikulin, Bryce, Tryon, and Wallwork. 2 minutes of walk.
Welcome here, you guys. It's Chengdu if you're just tuning in. FISE World Series final stop. And it is the UCI BMX Freestyle Park semifinals underway, about to get heat number 2. coming your way. Guys, we have a lot of action today, but right now it's all about freestyle BMX, and it's the men's division going on for heat number 2. As you see, the riders on course warming up, getting ready for the judges. The judges also just warmed up with heat number 1, as we had some highlights coming out of the German hopeful. Tollan came out with some beautiful style. He's sitting on top right now as we move into heat number 2. You see right there on your screen, it is our top panel of judges. Let's take a look though. Van Homan has given you a little insight as to what happens for the judges out here.
Obviously, you have to be very quick thinking when you're judging a 60-second run, especially with all the combinations and all the lines that riders are putting together. It's something we practice, something we have meetings about, and it's like anything. The more you do it, the better you get at it. So we have shorthand ways of taking notes and kind of just absorbing all that information really quickly and comparing so that we can get the score out right away. And it's our job to combine all those factors and see who comes out on top. Live scoring is one of the most difficult things, and that's why you need to be practiced. You need to be paying attention to what the riders are doing, not only at that event, but throughout the year, and kind of understand like how you weigh the pros and cons of someone's run against each other, so that when the time comes and you're under the gun, you can get that score in fast and you can get that score right.
Massive score! A massive score!
As far as the courses go, I think that's one of the greatest things about BMX is that the progression is not dictated by only the tricks. It also depends on the terrain. So some riders will thrive on certain courses and others on, maybe a more creative style course. So it's not like we're counting like, oh, a tail whip is this many points, this many points. The scoring system, it's a matter of anchor and compare. So you set that original score, and then you're constantly deciding if a rider's better or worse than the previous rider. And that's our goal, is to just get everybody in the placing that they deserve.
Welcome back, guys. It's FISE World Series 2019 coming to the finale here in Chengdu. We're about to get heat number 2 started, the UCI BMX Freestyle Park Men's Semifinal. You see heat number 2 right there. It's going to be Zinov, and then followed by Nikulin, Tryon, and Wallwork. A huge heavy-hitting pack right now. I believe Tollan is sitting on top after heat number 1 with a 69.40. It's going to be about who's breaking into the 70s right now as we move over to Roman.
Yeah, Ryan, it's interesting to think of it from Van Homan's perspective, since he just shined a little bit of light on what the judges look for out there. So it's fun to actually think of it as you watch the riders out here. What potential number would you give, right? So that's cool. If you're at home watching, you can think about the riders, deduct points, maybe add for style, and think where they would potentially sit on that ranking, as we have Tollan in that top spot with a 69.40.
Wow, beautiful seeing that 360 double downside tail whip from Roman. Talk no hander there, but I love seeing that trick. Coming back with a triple tail whip right there. Very low amplitude, in my opinion, for that trick. He just threw it around, though, so casually, and just casual enough right there on kind of the wedge hip. A 360 downside tail whip, followed by a truck driver right there over the spine.
So Roman riding for Russia. Russia currently sitting in 3rd. Yurik Ryzev and Kostya Andreev are the 2 top riders, giving Russia that top national score. You can actually see the Russian influence with that triple tail whip, very reminiscent of Yurik Ryzev, who we will see ride yet in this competition. So that was the 60 seconds, getting it done out there.
Solid performance for the Russian.
Roman finishing his run, of course. Gonna have to wait for the judges to take a highlight look at some of the big action coming your way from the Russian with that 360 tuck no-hander. Coming here with that 360 double downside tail whip, not touching the bike as the
frame whips around 2 times, and talking about frame whipping around 3 times right there on that triple whip.
Now, Ryan, just highlighting something off you said, you were talking about it maybe not being that high for the triple tail whip, but I know that you actually meant that complimentary to the rider of just how controlled you could be and throw a triple tail whip in while transferring and not having that big booter air. It's cool to see Roman with that style out there, just getting it done 3 times around, relying on the upper body to just keep that cadence of the back end and getting the feet to the pedals.
So yes, like you're saying, that is complementing his ability to be so comfortable on the bike. Didn't look like he had any bobbles in the footwork or anything on such difficult tricks like that. But you see there, another Russian on the screen, Alex Nikulin, ready to drop in. He's been up and down on the ranking board throughout the years, trying to step it up as he has a lot of competition moving forward. Big one coming out of the gate on that wedge transfer, front flip, and then backwards into the box with a 720, corked out.
Yeah, Nikulin, one of my favorite riders to watch. He actually has a very trail-influenced style. There's no brakes, no pegs on his bike, and he just goes so smooth and fast. Cash roll!
Whoa! And like you said, no brakes there on the bike, just a little bit behind the rear balance point and goes down. Oh, no. Nikulin. No. That's unfortunate. We have medics rolling over to Nikulin. Looks like he's has a pretty serious injury actually in his hand right there. Came off of that. That's really unfortunate to see. Oh no, maybe it's it could be okay. Sometimes you just don't know in these situations. We have top medical staff running over to make sure they can figure it out.
Yeah, so Alex Nikulin, unfortunately, he had all that momentum on the cash roll. He wound up blowing off the back of his bike right there. We're going to give him some time to get checked out. Hopefully, he could wind up riding in his second run. Obviously, the health and care of our riders is #1, and it's up to them, and if they get cleared from our medical, to potentially ride. All right, we're working our way through heat #2. Our next rider coming all the way from US of A. We're talking about Bryce Tryon. Here we go. Bryce getting the crowd hyped up as he drops in here in Chengdu. Transfer with the 360
yes.
One-handed bar spin to bar spin back, Aaron, all the way out of the vert wall.
Well, respectively shouting out Ryan Nyquist right there on that transfer truck driver. Oh, he's just maybe not getting exactly the run that he was looking for right there, but
yeah, so Ryan, so much of BMX is making that mental game plan you have into effect. Some riders can wind up changing the strategy on the fly, but we know how intense this competition is. This is the world's best, the cream of the crop as we move towards the Olympics. And if a rider winds up messing up or not feeling it that run, they might wind up saving it for the second run as potentially crashing or something not going their way. So we're seeing Bryce, he wound up waving off the rest of his run. He's talking to Kyle Carson over there right now for the moment. His dad is here cheering him on. I actually got an opportunity to fly over from the US with him. He's so psyched to be here and support his son in the flesh. So right now, Jake Wallwork, the next rider of heat #2, 4th rider to take. You might be wondering why that name sounds familiar. That's because last year, right here in Chengdu, he wound up getting 1st place, and he is part of the Australian team sitting in 2nd for their nation. Brandon Lupos, Jake Wallwork are making Australia proud as Wallwork tail whips over that channel. Look at the speed, Ryan.
Whoa, hitting the high up there. Big move right of Wallwork. That front flip bar spin to tuck no hander, putting 3 tricks into 1 right there, but one of the most difficult ones. Front flip with no brakes on the BMX bike.
Wallwork right now very focused as he transfers with the no-hander. Losing his footing a little bit. He did have that massive trick over the box jump. He's got 19 seconds to work with. Bar spin over the spine. Let's see if he can wind up regaining his composure. You can tell when a rider sometimes gets a little lost out there. They either get that focus and double down, or they wind up rolling off, and it looks like Wallwork is going to do that flare.
There you go. So you may notice a rider not going right until the buzzer like Jake just did. Just leaving a couple seconds up there. The judges are really going to want to see a full run all the way down. And that is just one of the things that some of the riders are taking into consideration. They know that maybe they haven't finished their entire run to perfection and they have one more chance to make it perfect. They know that's what it's going to need to get on top, so they are just going to wait and push through for a perfect run. As we move forward, though, we're going to wait for the score to come in from Jake Wallwork. But, however, we are taking some highlight looks. Let's look back. Some big things coming out of the Australian defending champion out here in Chengdu. Bar spin, and then check out the front flip here. It's a front flip, bar spin, the catch and back, tucking the bars up into his stomach and throwing the hands off in a tuck no-hander. Two incredible bar combinations in that front flip and doing it with no brakes. It's a very difficult trick. As I say difficult without the no brakes, I mean when we are learning how to do front flips, one of the most vital points is to have a back brake so you can slam it as soon as you come off the lip, and it just throws your bike in that frontwards velocity so that you have that extra rotation. As the riders have come more and more comfortable through the years with the front flip,
Ryan,
that's where they get.
I know you always love the encyclopedia when it comes to BMX. I'm going to dig in.
It.
Shout out to Dennis Wiggum, one of the first riders to ever do a front flip. You said how vital they are. He actually had a front brake on his bike, and he used to pull the brakes to throw his weight over the handlebars. That's actually how Tim Fuzzy Hall and also Matt Berenger used to try them back in Utah. And it wasn't until Scotty Kramer started consistently doing them where they became a presence in the contest scene, and then Daniel Dare started bringing them to the spine ramp, and now we're seeing that three-hit combo that Jake Wallwork did.
Right now on course for the second run, Roman Galimzionov on course as he hits that big vert wall. Vert wall is much larger. Whoa! 360 triple tail. We'll get back to that vert wall later, but that's a huge one.
Yeah, Brian, so you talked about the triple tail up in the first run. There we saw Roman build on that, this time putting in a 360. We are seeing so much influence by the older Russian rider, Yurik Ryzev, right now, and you can just tell that Yurik has been dominating the contest scene for Russia for many years, and you can see the young blood from Russia just following in his footsteps, and those are definitely a good path to be on, as Roman with the transfer and a double tail whip to pedals, Ryan.
Wow, beautiful competition coming here. Guys, there's so much action happening in Chengdu. Like we've mentioned, 2 weeks of incredible competition happening for the 2020 Olympics. We're going to get a lot of points coming out of the FISE World Series, but as well for the World Championship happening as well out here in Chengdu. If you guys don't know what's happening, it's the UCI BMX Freestyle Park semifinals. We are live in Kingshui City Park, just located outside of the city center from Chengdu in central China. So you guys, this is a spectacle, and it is our 6th year coming out here for the incredible finals, the finale of the UCI BMX Freestyle Park World Championship here at the FISE World Series. Taking a look right there from the young Russian rider dominating some of the tail whips. Waiting for his score to come in. Run number 2.
So we are just getting word that unfortunately Alex Nikulin will not be taking his next run. That is very unfortunate. We're still waiting for Roman's score to come in. It looks like he is going to have a 68 flat. All right, moving up into that potential second spot right there. Big run, big score to reflect that. So we are going to wind up panning back past to the USA rider, Bryce Tryon, getting ready to roll for his second run. Again, the format out here is a best run counts. So Bryce hopefully will scratch off that first run and let this second run really shine for him out here. So you can see the timer is set. 60 seconds are on that clock. Bryce is about to drop in. He's being cheered on by Chengdu. And as we mentioned, his dad made the journey out from the United States to cheer on Bryce. Yeah, big transfer. Ryan, you gave a shout out to Ryan Nyquist. He is the USA BMX team manager,
there we
men
go.
and women's. He is in the house right here, and you are seeing that Nyquist influence shine as Bryce is off to a solid start.
That's what he was looking for, perfection coming out of that run with 360 double tail to bar spin. He didn't get it in the first run. Look at the amplitude blasting over that Hurricane Parks quarter pipe and then jumping that 360 bar spin backwards on the box jump as he comes into the transfer 360 double bar spin. That was the hard way for the extended spine right there as Tryon comes into the bowl section. Tapping the brakes a tiny bit, 360 double bar spin. He's tossed huge combinations on every single hit. He's really pushing for that top spot and probably going to be going well into the 70s. 5 seconds left on the clock. Big front flip, sending it off with a flare right to the buzzer. That is a run that's going to be on top or rooting for one of those top 3 spots right now.
Yeah, Ryan, so good to see Bryce, another rider, come into his own, specifically at this contest. He has been competing for many years, and the fact that he's able to put it all together on that second run in the semifinal, I have a feeling that will be a very big score for him, and that is going to be crucial because of the 24 riders, only 12 will transfer. Look at that transfer, though. Bar spin one way, bar spin back with the one-hander. Very high double tail whip, and take a look right there with that perspective. This time after the whip throws the handlebars around. Here's a look at the transfer again, so comfortable, but I like the way that he cut the angle on that landing to set up for the hip, and there is a look at a 450 whip on that hip as well. So again, Bryce's first score was a wash, and the highest we've seen of the day, a 77.4. Big run for the USA rider. Look how psyched he is. Bryce right now making the most of his trip here to Chengdu with that score currently on top of the board.
I knew that one was going to be getting some of the top honors out here. Bryce really pushing for the top spot, getting combinations in each one of his hits as well. Really pushing for perfection, but going back to Australia as we have Jake Wallwork, defending champion out here from Chengdu, pushing forward for his second run as he drops in off the top of the Hurricane Parks ramp, coming for that little transfer. Big bar spin to tuck no hander.
Yeah, Ryan, we're going to see a big run for Wallwork. He really loves to push his riding, and you know he's an Australian, so he tends to be cut from another cloth, which known as steel, as he does that 3-hit combo again, the front flip, bar spin to tuck no-hander. It's so important for a rider to make the most of one run because it's all about that top high score. So we sometimes will see a rider take a similar approach on their second run. They will not be deducted from that as opposed to a thing where it was an overall for both scores. But this run in particular is going to be an important one for Jake as he does a 360 bar spin to the landing, setting up for the hip. Yes, that was a front flip flare transfer right there. Wallwork with the no-hander. Coming around the corner. Let's see if he can just throw a few toppings on as the buzzer goes off. Australia is so proud as Chengdu lets a huge roar of applause go for Jake Wallwork's second run. Wow, Ryan, that was huge. The thing I really liked when he did that truck driver, you might say for Jake, hey, that's not the biggest trick in the books, but it set him up for that hip to do the front flare transfer. So he utilized the course. Maybe some riders might have just jumped it stock to set up for the hip, but not Wallwork. He threw in that truck driver. It shows you the extent of his bike control. Right there, that was the big booming centerpiece of his run. Here is that front flip transfer as well. That was right after as he set up perfectly for it. So Wallwork, his first run score was a 56.40. I have a feeling it is going to go way up there, but will it be enough to go into the 80s or at least the upper 70s, which will go past USA's Bryce Tryon? So we know we mentioned the Olympics a lot, but it's all about the FISE World Series today and for all of our riders. This is such a prestigious event. It's been a global competition open to all riders. They could come potentially qualify and make their way to the semis. And Wallwork right there with the 75.20. Very impressive score. He's going to sit in that second spot, followed by Paul Tollan.
So there you guys go. We have the next heat lining up. Our third heat. 4 riders going to be warming up
coming your way momentarily, but we have some big bangers coming your way. A bit of a highlight clip that the FISE crew has put together for you. Welcome back, guys. Chengdu, we are live for the FISE World Series finale here in the incredible Kinshui City Park region, just located about 20 minutes south of the Chengdu city. If you guys have not been able to make your way out here and join us live, make sure you guys tune in and follow us on social media. You can find us on Facebook at FISE Official, as well on YouTube, as you guys just saw that highlight clip of the bangers from the last two stops on 2019 World Cup, located in Hiroshima, Japan, and in Montpellier. If you guys want to follow some of that action, just go onto our YouTube page, type in FISE, F-I-S-E, and you will find our page there with a ton of incredible content going on live and some of the unrecorded content that you get from the behind the scenes. But it is all about action out here. We are well underway and about ready to start heat number 3 here in Chengdu. We just got the 2 heats going, so 8 riders already down, but we got another 4. It's going to be James Jones, followed by Daniel Sandoval, Marin Rantes, and Anthony Jean-Jean from France, the rider who came out and was able to deliver a world-class performance in his homeland and in his, let's say, city of Montpellier. But right now, James Jones from USA, or from Great Britain, I believe, is on course.
James Jones, such an exciting rider to watch because he likes to go up, up, up. There you go, 360 downside tail whip to kick back the windshield wiper. James Jones, so exciting as he can blast out of these quarter pipes and make them really look like the vert ramps that they are. James Jones with a flare bar spin at height.
Wow, at height, you are right. That was a massive amplitude coming out of the Cordy kicker right there.
James Jones has the support of Jamie Bestwick, Great Britain's BMX coach, who definitely let some of his vert ramp skills rub off on him. You see he had a little bit of difficulty on top of the sub box. Looked like he went for a foot jam stall, wound up losing his balance and jumping off. Here is a few of the highlights, though, from his run. 360 tail whip, touching his foot on the top tube, able to kick the frame momentum back in the other direction. I love the height of that flare bar spin landing down. And we saw that he just didn't have his body position right to get the hop back in off the sub. He knows that it's really going to come down to a perfect run. You saw a little bit of frustration out there for the rider. That is so expected. And it would actually be odd if a rider didn't feel that way, because they can feel how much is on the line, not only for the FISE World Series, but also to potentially get those points for their country. Speaking of which, Great Britain sitting in 4th in the national rankings. James Jones and Declan Brooks are Great Britain's 2 highest individual ranked riders, and that is why they got the points. James Jones currently sitting in 8th for an individual rider. So he wants to do the best for Great Britain, as the riders are competing in that way for the Olympic level, but they're also riding for their selves out here for the FISE World Series. You can see the colors of the United States That's because this is Daniel Sandoval coming from Corona, California. Sandoval proudly rocking the USA as he comes into the box jump. Yeah, Sandoval, 4 hits right there. 360 with the bar spin, bookend on that tail whip. We got Sandoval tabletop, finding it as he flies down. A lot of momentum, getting the transfer over the A-frame grind box. Ryan, look at the height. Sandoval building momentum.
Yeah, and great speed coming in for that transfer, as we were saying, coming out of Corona, California. Huge transfer right there. I saw him riding the first time at Claremont Skate Park. Some incredible riding, pushing through decades of time on the bike. 360 double downside tail whip, one of the riders perfecting that downside 360 combination on the bike there, pushing so many hits into this run here from United States' very own Daniel Sandoval, coming down to the buzzer with a tail whip on the quarter right there. A huge full pull for Mr. Sandoval as he finishes off here for the semi-finals.
All right, well, we did have 2 events that happened earlier, Hiroshima and Montpellier on the FISE World Series. Currently, Sandoval is sitting 9th place, where he got a 17th in Hiroshima, a 7th in Montpellier. He wants to continue working his way up the ladder. Obviously, qualifying in the semifinal will be necessary to move on, but that was a big run for Sandoval. That trick was so challenging to get done over the box jump. The 360 bar spin, tail whip, bar spin. I mean, that's like a video game trick to put those together, 4 in 1 jump. Sandoval solid, and then he was able to keep his momentum rolling through the course. So again, the score to beat is at 77.40 from a fellow USA rider of Bryce Tryon. Sandoval, though, is representing USA Cycling. He is putting USA in that top spot for the national ranking for the Olympics with Justin Dowell. Their 2 combined scores are the highest out of any nation's ranking. Again, it's USA, Australia, Russia, Great Britain, Japan, Venezuela, Costa Rica, and France are your top 8. But Sandoval right now, first rider to break into the 80s.
There you go.
Making USA proud. You can almost start hearing that USA chant coming back from North America as Sandoval gets that 80.
Pushing Tryon down with that 77.4, still incredibly respectable score, but like you said, the first person pushing to the 80s, and that's going to be setting the bar and the tone out here for the next riders to drop in, as we have another Red Bull rider all the way from Croatia, making his name known on the FISE World Series from the last years. We picked him up at our Croatia stop 5 years ago. Marin has been going strong, ready to drop in here in China. A rider who has so many combinations, really known for his trick ability, going for broke out there, 360 bar spin on the box jump as he comes back with speed and vengeance on that transfer. Bar spin to tuck no hander.
Yeah, Ryan, the thing to most notably mention about Marin, she's our defending 2018 FISE World Series champion. That means after our 4 stops last year, he got top honors, and he's looking to do it with the backflip, bar spin to tail whip, and throwing the feet in a little bit of a Superman for the style points. Marin firing back at us with the 360 double tail whip into a backflip tail whip on the spine right there.
Tiny bit of a hang up, but he's getting the pumps around the bull corner to regain speed and momentum as he hits that flare right there. 5 seconds left as he goes for the foot jam whip, holding the trick. UCI rule states you have to be on the takeoff, or at least holding the trick as the buzzer draws, so you're able to use that for qualifying points, as Marin was in the middle of that foot jam tail variation. That trick is going to count as he landed that drop and back into the quarter pipe. So a full pull for the first run. He's just checking his bike, I think, after he had a big case coming off of that spine. Take a look at some of the big highlights coming from the young Croatian rider.
Yeah, Marin, a thing to note is that he actually recently spent a lot of time at Daniel Dare's skate park in the United States, riding with Daniel, getting ready for this event. He wants to be around other top performers. Unfortunately, Daniel didn't transfer from qualifications yesterday, so he is here cheering on Marin, as our defending champion is hoping that not only he'll be in the top 12 position, but the higher up towards that top position will wind up being important as we work our way through the heats. It doesn't matter if you're in the first heat or in the last, it's the top 12 riders that will progress. And Marin right there with the 78 after his first run. So that is definitely going to give Marin, the Croatian, a little bit of breathing room. But we have 11 riders who have taken the course total. Marin has his first run. And then now we have the France rider, Anthony Jean, who is getting ready to just bring the heat. And if he rides anything like he did in Montpellier, Ryan, we know we are definitely in for a treat.
You know, a big story with Jean is that he grew up being introduced to the sport of freestyle BMX at the FISE in Montpellier, and he came to put that dream to fruition as he was able to ride amongst his hometown crowd. Last event in the Montpellier Freestyle Finals, as he pushed his way into qualifying position with tricks like that Indian air over the transfer, so he's able to make it here into the finals, the finale of Chengdu. Let's see if he's able to get a full run in and make it into that finals. We still have a lot of riders left to go, but Jean on a run here.
Yeah, Jean was able to keep the momentum since Montpellier. He was able to be the 2019 UEC European champion. And Jean got that big triple whip, X-up transfer, grabs the transition to set up for the backflip tail whip on the spine. He has 10 seconds to work with. He wants to keep the momentum going with the X-up right there. This is the moments where a rider can be winded and they have to balance what degree of difficulty for tricks do they want to do.
Oh,
and Jean said, I want to do that flare tail whip. Very hard to do when winded. You see right there, he went down, back to his feet, fortunately, but didn't necessarily have the stamina. His weight was a little bit off, and Ryan, you know as much as me, when the tires hit the ramp, if your body position isn't right and you're not able to just focus it into your tires and have that momentum roll forward, you wind up dumping off to the side of the bike, as Jean did right there.
If you guys were noticing on that run, the buzzer did sound before Jean went for the takeoff. We have talked about often the UCI ruling for whether that means that it's going to count or not count. Do you know the actual count, whether that's going to impact his score?
Yeah, Ryan, it's a really good thing you bring up. I actually had an opportunity to talk with the UCI prior to the event, and they were talking about what they want to change, and for this event in particular, a rider has to put, after the buzzer sounds, and if they're doing a trick, they have 3 seconds to put their feet back on or their hands, depending on the trick, and ride away. If it's 4 seconds, so let's say buzzer goes off, they start doing a crazy combo, it's after 4 seconds, it's not going to count. Now, if they crash or pull it, that will be how it factors. They might wind up changing this rule into the future, but right now, I know it's a little confusing, but we do have our 6 judges who will be calling that. So it's kind of one of those tomato-tomato scenarios. In the past, it was always if the buzzer's sounding and a rider's taking off, but I think it's to really utilize how if maybe a rider does a manual combination, that could also be, you know, another 60 seconds if you got someone who's really out there linking all the lines together, like, you know, someone Dennis Anderson might do, or Chad Curley.
Correct. Nice to see that insight. See here, Daryl is always up to speed, talking with the judges, making sure he has all the criteria and the history down packed for you guys. The encyclopedia, of course, of BMX. But as we get back to James Jones from Great British Cycling with a massive flare on that huge quarter pipe, great amplitude and pull back on that 360 double tail whip, as well as he pushes into the box jump with a big corked out 720, some high impact and very high point awarded tricks.
Yeah, Ryan, when I first saw this course, I wanted to see what James Jones was going to do on here, specifically because of these vert quarter pipes, flare tail whip at such height. You saw him go way over Marin Rampish's head, who was on the deck. This is very important time, though, because we saw in his first run, he wound up going up on top of this sub box, this time switching things up with that foot plant, coming over the hip, hanging up a little bit, but he's got 10 seconds to make Great Britain proud. 360 with the bar spin, tail whip to the foot jam. Come on, James. 3, 2, 1. Buzzer with the tail whip. All right, James Jones. Yeah, Ryan, when you see a course There's certain obstacles that can sometimes favor a rider over another. That doesn't mean that they're doing anything as far as not making a fair game of play, but some riders, they go out and they spend a lot of time and maybe feel comfortable blasting out on box jumps or quarter pipes, or they can add some street tech elements. And James Jones is just so comfortable and confident going high on the quarter pipes. So James Jones right there, also very tech. It is a lip trick. That is when it's on the face of the ramp right by that coping. And then he winds up doing that tail whip with the foot jam right back in. So Jones, very smooth, full run. We are taking a look as we see Daniel Sandoval up there as well. Sandoval is an 80. James Jones with an 85. Wow, Ryan 5 points higher than Daniel Sandoval, the only two riders to be in the 80s. And we are seeing a little bit of a battle out here between USA, who has the #1 national ranking, and Great Britain, who is currently sitting in 4th. The combined scores for USA come from Justin Dowell and Daniel Sandoval. And for Great Britain, it's James Jones and Declan Brooks. All right, we got the battle of the heavyweights in our third heat. It looks like Daniel Sandoval for USA is going to try to fire back. Again, this is just our semifinal. 12 riders will progress. We are going to see if Sandoval winds up just playing it safe out here, but it does not look like it at all. One thing to note, depending on what can happen with the weather, if we're not able to do the final tomorrow, the semifinal scores will count. Ryan, we have seen that in the past, and it looks like Sandoval is just ratcheting up a few notches as he flies all the way to the vert wall.
Wow, an incredible run coming here for Daniel Sandoval, blasting that invert on the quarter pipe right in front of us, and then snapping that front flip on the wedge transfer. Sandoval, he was checking out to see what James Jones' score was. He just noted that it was 5 points ahead of his. I think he was figuring out, okay, I really need to push things up. How can I change my run? He is changing it up and added things like that front flip flare. With a couple seconds left, Daniel Sandoval, another incredibly solid run for the American rider here in China.
All right, Ryan, few things to note. We saw Sandoval get that highest score of the 80. Then we witnessed James Jones lace his second run with an 85, and Sandoval fired back. Look at the combination, 360 downside tail whip to a bar spin. That was over the extended spine, and then we're seeing another variation over the box jump. Let's look at Sandoval. He goes airborne, folding that tabletop upside down. His feet are off the pedals. He is just so focused. He's able to get them back on as he lands. I personally love that tail whip transfer 360 because it's into that wedge, and then he's got that front flip flare from the quarter into the big landing. That is known as the lawn dart. Shout out to Keith McElhaney, first rider to do that on vert. And Sandoval, bam, 87.70. So our two heavyweights exchanging haymakers in the ring. Sandoval with an 80, Jones with the 85, and Sandoval back on top with the 87.7.
Wow, that is what competition looks like as you have the heats battling it out. And then we have Marin, a rider we have seen on top of the podium at FISE events in the past. Another Red Bull rider, another rider who is the top of his country, respectively, the top freestyle BMX athlete coming out of Croatia. Marin about to do his second attempt here in China and see if he can get his score into the top 80s as the other two in heat number 3 have battled it out. Let's see. Pushing forward, 720 double tail whip. Wow, Marin over-rotating that 720, just really pushing for it.
Wow, so Marin, his strategy was to just put all the chips on the table and go for it right there. So crazy to go for the whip variations in the 720. That's 2 spins over the box. You've got to basically work on your rotation as you're traveling forward towards the landing. When you have the tail whip in the mix, it can just change your velocity of your spin. Let's take a look right here as Marin does the backflip double tail whip known as the helicopter, spots the landing clean. Here we go over the box jump, the 720 with the tail whip. And then you saw he just had too much juice. The back end went around, and then he wound up moto whipping off the side of his bike. And I'm not talking about the whip that you do in the air, but I'm talking more about the whiplash on flat ground. Thankfully, Marin will be okay, but his score is not going to improve. 78, still sitting in third, not too shabby. Working our way through heat number 3, our 4th rider to go. He is the 12th of the competition. He is a 2019 UEC European champion. He is the pride of France. This is Anthony Jean-Jean.
Like we said, Anthony coming out, being introduced to BMX through the FISE, and now competing in one of the most anticipated and coveted sports and contests known to freestyle BMX. Tossing that backflip double tail whip right there, and a beautiful Superman C-Crab Indian air over the channel from the Hurricane quarter pipe. Jean-Jean pushing in for the second run.
Yes, backflip with the bar spin, grabbing the landing. Jean-Jean so confident. The thing to note is they had the flare bar spin after that flip variation on the box jump, going up and over on the vert wall. Double, triple tail whip, I believe.
Yeah, triple tail whip.
3 times around on the transfer. So crazy because you have to make sure you don't hit your back end on that A-frame grind rail. Jean-Jean with the backflip tail whip. Again, Ryan, if a rider winds up doing some similar tricks for their first run, they are not negatively penalized. They got to put it all together in 60 seconds, and Jean-Jean's doing that right now. He's looking for a solid ender. Can he keep it together? Yes, and he sticks it on his second run. That's got to be a great feeling right there. Getting the redemption at the buzzer, and I believe that was within that 3-second allotted time after the buzzer that the UCI says is necessary for a rider to pull their trick to get the points. The buzzer goes off, 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000. Feet are back on the pedals, it will count. So Jean-Jean had the crash in his first run. His score was a 59.40. Obviously, Ryan, he's going to go way up with this one, climbing up the ladder. Where he'll fall, we don't know. That tail whip transfer was so cool and so focused. There's a look at a different variation, this time going backwards with the tail whip. And you see the hands of Chengdu going together with the well-deserved applause from the French rider. So he's impressed us. He's definitely impressed the fans here, but he has to impress our 6 judges for that score. Again, Van Homan, Dave Cleworth, Dave Dilward, Igor Vukadinovic, Romilad Noro, Luka Kovic. Those are your 6 legendary rider judges, and it's going to be a 77.60. You see Jean-Jean is shaking his head. He is psyched with that score. I should say he's happy with that score because we still have 12 more riders to go, and we are only taking 12 to the final.
We had some big highlights coming out of the FISE World Series in 2019. One of the top scoring runs in FISE history. It was docked by none other than Brandon Lupos. Let's take a look back, some of the action.
From Sydney, Australia, that is Brandon Lupos.
Wow, so Lupos going down right there.
I felt the pressure for sure in my first run, and that's why I crashed, you know. I definitely, when I crashed, I was quite bummed, and I was like, damn, I'm not gonna even get top 5 here, you know. And, you know, I even thought about changing the run-up because I was that scared to fall, you know. But then I knew that if I was scared to fall, I'd fail anyway. So I knew, hey, don't be scared to fail. Go out and show these people that you're willing to win whatever it takes. And I dropped in and, you know, I landed the 1080. As soon as I landed the 1080, I was like, all right, let's go.
Backflip 2 times over that step up.
An absolutely incredible second run coming out here, delivering under pressure.
When I ended with that 900 into the 5 flare, I thought, you know, I didn't even hear the clock, you know, tick down or anything. But then it really sunk in when I was riding away from that run that I did something special. Not for anyone else, that doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is that I did it, I proved myself wrong because I counted myself out before I even dropped in. And I really had that conversation with myself to be real, just to go out and give it my all or nothing. If I'm focused on what I'm doing, then everything else just falls into place, you know? Like it's not hard. I just focus on my riding and I let my riding do the talking, and I make sure that when I do land my runs that I have no regrets, and you know, that's everything that I've got.
Welcome back live here in Chengdu for the FISE World Series 2019. We have the semifinals going well underway, about to start heat number 4 out here for the men's UCI BMX Freestyle Park. And that is right, we have had 3 action-packed heats started, and we are going to move down to our next 4 riders. It's going to be Justin Dowell, Ida Kraisev, Brandon Lupos, and Ben Wallace. Brandon Lupos coming off one of the top scoring runs in FISE history. Some incredible action coming your way, guys, as we have the 4 of them warmed up on course. Let's take a look back and see what the overall ranking looks like here for the FISE World Series.
Big cannonball to bar spin.
Backflip double bar spin on the spine and a 360 windshield wiper.
You see right there, Justin Dowell sitting in second place, 200 points away from our leader, Logan Martin, I believe, who's sitting with 6,400 points, I believe, in first right there. So Mr. Justin Dowell from Virginia Beach, California is about ready to start and be your first rider out here for heat number 4 of the semifinals. Coming out strong with that big transfer. A lot of riders looking to go for that one as they get perfect speed into that box jump. Great execution on that 360 tail with the bar spin, then a flare bar spin into a 360 bar spin downside tail whip.
Yeah, Justin Dowell on course, the USA rider currently leading the charge for individual riders around the world. That means that his FISE World Series and also his international contest finishings have been higher than anyone else for that combined score. And we are seeing Dowell right now fly around the course, and there's that Twix, the tail whip with the bar spin on the transfer off the hip. Let's see Dowell as he charges with 15 seconds to go. Backflip, double bar spin, so smooth with the cadence on the bars. Looking back, Dowell right now looking forward as he has 5 seconds to go, 5:40. Dowell getting that big spin. Can he put something big on the resume? He's got that toboggan. All right, Dowell. So Dowell, our 2018 UCI World Champion. We have our 2019 UCI World Champions taking place next weekend here in Chengdu, China. If a rider wins that event, they have the opportunity to wear the coveted rainbow jersey. For all of our other cycling events who follow around the world and know the UCI, it's one of the most prestigious awards a rider can win. If Dowell wants, he could technically be wearing the UCI rainbow jersey right now, but he is very proudly opting to also wear the colors of USA because his combined score with Daniel Sandoval puts for the nation ranking USA in #1. Australia is currently sitting in #2, Russia #3, Great Britain #4. If you want to find out more about those results, you could go onto UCI.org. Click the BMX Freestyle tab and you can find out all the information, not only about results, but upcoming events of how you can come and cheer on our riders as we work our way towards Tokyo Olympics in July and August of 2020. Dowell definitely wants to be there on course, and with riding like this, he is definitely a top contender. Big run, big tricks like that Twix. Dowell with a big score too. 1 point away from breaking into the 90s. The USA rider Justin Dowell, and 89 even is where he is going to stand. But this is an international competition here, and Russia's top 2 combined scores has them sitting in 3rd. That's of Yurik Ryzev and Kostya Andreev. So right now we are looking at Yurik Ryzev as he is getting ready to roll in here, Ryan, and give his own touch to this hurricane design course here in Chengdu, China. Yes.
Yurik Ryzev starting things off strong there. Big combinations coming out of this man. Backflip, tail to tuck no hander.
I love the way that he wound up catching that tail whip. It was so smooth. He kept no pauses before taking his hands off. Same goes for that 360 no-hander. Yurik Ryzev with a triple tail whip. That's what we said earlier. We saw the influence in Roman. Right now, Yurik just charging, peeling back the throttle as he comes into the box jump. Oh, yeah.
Yo, banging that out, 360 triple tail whip. Some of these Russian guys, they've been really triggering the PlayStation maneuvers, as you guys notice. They just have some uncanny bike ability.
Backflip double tail whip. These are important 9 seconds for Yurik as he's had a solid first run. 360 bar spin. Here we go. Downside 360 tail whip and a buzzer. That was a full run for Russia right there. You see Yurik put his hand up. So now, as we've got not only the Olympics going on, but this event in particular, 5 riders for the overall FISE World Series potentially could be in the top. Logan Martin sitting first in points. Justin Dowell, who we just witnessed ride, in second. Japan's Rim Nakamura in third. Yurik Ryzev in fourth. And Brandon Lupos in fifth. And that is for the FISE World Series after Hiroshima and our Montpellier stops. Take a look, though. Yurik Ryzev was so smooth on this course. Ryan, I didn't think it was possible, but he somehow upped the ante of his riding, in my opinion. Not necessarily the tricks, but how smooth he was in the transitions into and out of them, specifically his no-handers. Even just 360ing that box jump backwards with the no-hander, it was so smooth. So confident out there, and that's what's so important for Yurik, because as we go towards the Olympics, or even this very big event right here, it's about delivering under pressure. That's what we saw in that highlight video from Brandon Lupos in Hiroshima, our first stop, and being able to control your emotions under that pressure while the whole world is watching is such an important thing. You only have the 60 seconds of either run to make your statement, and you have to impress the 6 judges out there. So we know the score to beat is by USA's Justin Dowell. He is in this heat, our 4th of 6. He has that 89. No rider has yet bumped up into the 90s. It's going to be very interesting to see if Yurik Ryzev will be able to do that. Score coming in, 84.60. Okay, so he is going to be about 5 points behind Justin Dowell, a little bit less than that. So we're seeing the judges, very high criteria. They want to know if a rider can also pull down big tricks and utilize the entire course. Ryan, we know one rider that did that, and he got the #1 in Hiroshima. We saw that highlight reel, one of the highest runs in the history of FISE. This is Australia's Brandon Lupos.
Lupos, like you said, if you're watching that highlight video, he left it all to the second run, but put it down under pressure. Lupos, a man of action, has really been dominating out here. You see with incredibly intense tricks like that flare whip.
Yeah, Brandon Lupos, definitely a contest rider, but he always rides with his heart and soul, inspired by one of the legendary riders, Dave Mira. He actually built putting a foot down. Wow.
Well, going to be waving it off after that one. You just saw he maybe was a little winded, didn't have enough time to relocate himself on the bike before he snapped up into that front flip over the little wedge jump. But you saw an incredible run and something.
Yeah, so Ryan, as I was about to say, he's inspired by his idol, the late, great Dave Mira. He actually just built up a brand new bike. You actually see right now, Brandon's actually giving us a thumbs up and holding the heart, his hands in a heart up to Dave Mira in the sky right now, as he just wants to hold Dave's legacy. Even though Lupos, though, is such a focused contest rider, he just puts his heart and passion on the line. It doesn't matter if it's a regular session out there with his friends or he's going to deliver some of the best runs in BMX. He is just pouring it on. We are seeing Lupos' highlights from his first run. I believe he got about 25 seconds into the run, and then he wound up having some difficulty. There was the cash roll, so smooth on the landing, and then I think he had an opposite flare, and then there is the front flip. He landed a little bit low, thankfully didn't crash. Probably got a little bit shaken up on that, and then said, you know what, I'm gonna put it and stick to my format that worked so well in Hiroshima and just put the pressure on and deliver when it counts. All right, we're working through. You can see the colors of Great Britain on the Mongoose Riders jersey. This is the big man from the UK, Ben Wallace. All right, Ben Wallace, also known for going up, up, and away, especially on quarter pipes, and that is how he's starting things off. Perfect.
Wow.
Spread no-hander. Transfer with the look back.
Yes.
Ben Wallace to the top of the vert wall. That was insane.
You guys, that is not a normal vert wall. It has over 1.5 meters of vert on that, and he was over half a meter higher than the coping on that one. Our only rider I've seen air higher than the coping there. Ben really on a mission here.
Yeah, Ryan, we know that could be risky as well because a rider could potentially hang up their back wheel as they air into it, but Wallace has no problems at all. Double tail whip, working through the final 20 seconds as he approaches the box. Downside double 360 tail whip right there.
Showing that he doesn't just have the amplitude, but has some incredibly high difficulty tricks as well, throwing that beautiful flare here and then popping up into the tail whip.
Yeah, and Wallace 270 with the X up over there. Wallace, a very well-versed rider. He also competes in BMX dirt. And I'd like to give Ben Wallace a lot of credit because not only is he a talented rider, but he is also a husband and father. And I've loved that over the years, Ben has just progressed his riding and been inspired by his family. Not only do they support him to do awesome tricks like that, but he has just developed and honed in his skills and styles. Wallace showing no signs of slowing down and just getting better and better with more time on the bike. So Wallace right there kicking the downside double 360 tail whip. He's able to do that so smooth because the way his rotation is actually almost like an opposite-footed rider. A couple of them throughout time have been very notable. Ben Wallace, obviously, but also Mike Aiken, one of the most stylish riders of all time. I had an opportunity to talk with Mikey. He said he was going to be watching our feed right now and cheering on riders. So he's seeing a little bit of that Ben Wallace influence out here. So you can see right there, Justin Dowell, our current points leader, USA, on the right side of your screen. Ben Wallace for Great Britain as we wait for his score to come in. Again, the national ranking for the Olympics, USA is sitting in that top spot, and Great Britain currently sitting in 4th. For Great Britain, we've got Jamie Bestwick, the coach, one of the most established vert ramp riders of all time. He has more X Games gold medals to his name than any other rider in the discipline. I love that Jamie is the coach, but Ryan, I got to be honest with you. I always twist Jamie's arm and say, I want to see you out here at one of our FISE World Series, because not only does he rip vert, but he definitely can ride a park. So Jamie helping Ben Wallace get that 7.50. That means there's a 7 next to Ben Wallace's name on either side of that, putting him in 7th place. Wallace will have one more opportunity to up that score out there. Well, our rider of heat number 4, first one to go, he is currently sitting in the top spot. Let's see if he winds up saying, you know what, I am chilling, or if Dowell is going to say, yeah, right, I am not sleeping on anything. All right, so Dowell with the little red carpet entrance. He had that Smith with bar in at 360 1-foot X. All right, it looks like Dowell is just going to cruise and coast on the course. Ryan, I've had a lot of opportunity to travel to events around the world with Justin, and one of the cool parts about that is you get to spend time with a rider, not only at the contest, but off their bike as well. And Dowell grew up in Virginia Beach, and he just loves all elements of BMX. I know a lot of riders only know him from the contest series or circuit. He's just so passionate. Doesn't have to ride big parks, big ramps. He'll just go out and even just ride the streets around his town. If he's on a bike and two wheels, he is loving it, and that is why Dowell is currently sitting in first place points and representing US of A. When it comes to BMX, you got to be passionate if you're going to put in the countless hours, the blood, sweat, and tears it takes to be up there. And it doesn't matter if you're doing it in the US of A or on the other side of the world for Russia, like our second rider of Heat 4, Irek Ryzev. So Irek's first run, he had a very solid one with an 84.60, but again, we are only taking 12 of the 24. Obviously, Irek is sitting in a decent spot in that fourth, but you don't want to basically say, you know what, I'm fine and coast, and then wind up getting bumped out. Also, as we mentioned, if unfortunately it rains tomorrow or there's a weather problem, this score will count towards your final. So Irek going up the vert wall, charging back. Backflip, tail whip to no-hander, and that was that smooth transition we mentioned in his first run where his hands just came off so good. We're seeing him up the ante with that downside 360 tail whip over the box jump backwards as opposed to the 360 no-hander.
Something you have noted, just some incredible poise as he hits all the transitions with his front wheel. Perfect on his pedals. He just has such smooth riding. Check out that 360 triple tail up. Looks like he was just going for a regular 360 tail up. That's how smooth he came around on the bike. As well as you know, he's coming backwards on that box jump. I've seen both times as he comes with a combination. Just such great precision with the front wheel of his bike getting the transition.
Yeah, Ryan, I'm interested to note this is a conscious effort on his behalf to almost, I'm going to say, conserve energy out there, because you just see how smooth he is, not only on the landings, but even in between ramps. He's just so composed and just really in control. I also would think that that would come from experience. He's been in the FISE World Series for multiple years now, traveling around the world, and with that, you're able to just be grace under pressure. And Irek Ryzev not only is sitting in fourth after his first run, but also for the points on our year-end ranking, he is sitting fourth place. As we mentioned, Logan Martin currently leading the charge, followed by Justin Dowell, Rim Nakamura, Irek Ryzev, and Brandon Lupos are our top 5 riders, only separated by 1,000 points after our Hiroshima and FISE stops. So Irek Ryzev wanting to be into that final. And Ryan, I got to tell you, it's so easy to get wrapped up in the semifinal, even for us, almost thinking it's the final, because these are really the riders that are typically all in a final. But since this is such an important event, FISE World Series brings out such a quantity of world-class riders that even the qualifier of yesterday had so many heavy hitters who didn't progress into the event.
Here we have such an incredible list of riders, and they're all battling for the top. You see a run there. He's currently sitting in fourth place, wondering if he's going to improve. Still staying in fourth place there. I think his first run is actually going to be the one that they're sticking with. So second run, not getting any more improvement as we move down to Brandon Lupos from Australia. Had a little bit of foot down on that front flip. Let's see if he answers back. Had some incredible tricks. Starting off the double tail up over the transfer. Coming back with a huge invert on that transfer. Adding a trick in there. 360 triple tail whip into a flare whip.
So Ryan, we heard a little bit of psychology from Lupos where he talked about Hiroshima, and he said that he was going to stick with his game plan in his highest run ever of FISE, and it looks like he's sticking with his game plan right here because it's all about risk reward. Lupos could technically do less difficult tricks and try to be one of the top 12, but he is just putting on all the tricks. Even though he's landing a little low there, Lupos has to be solid for these last 15 seconds. Come on, Lupos.
Oh, not getting the front flip on that either. Wow, 2 slightly washed runs for Brandon Lupos. Looks like a little bit of disappointment in that one, as we're going to have to wait and see if that score
is going to be enough right now. Lupos is currently sitting in that unfortunate spot of 15th position with a 49.20. Like we said, the top score in FISE history, blasting out of his run in Hiroshima, as he's now just pushing to see if he's going to make the finals here in Chengdu. That is how the competition works out in the UCI BMX Freestyle World Series, as we have such incredibly fierce competition throughout our entire spectrum of riders. 24 riders out here today for semifinals. We're well underway, pushing through heat number 3.
Yeah, so right now it's going to be for Lupos, seeing if he'll be in the top 12, not necessarily on the top spot, but he is going to need a 65.80, or excuse me, better than a 65.80. That's the 12th, currently held on by Alec Dinletti. And he is right now saying, I don't know, is this going to be enough? That's hard. He not only had the crash. This is going to be a tough one. I mean, what are your thoughts on this one right now?
I don't think he's making it, unfortunately. I mean, I love Brandon Lupos, love watching him ride, and just the incredible devotion to the sport and to contest riding. Seeing him come back from such difficult positions, he always seems to put the pressure kind of on top of his shoulders into the second run.
Well, Ryan, here's the thing. Even if he's able to get higher than a 65.80 and be in the top 12, we still have more riders to go. We still have Ben Wallace of this heat, and then we still have 2 other heats. Unfortunately, you could see right there, 63.20, so he is going to be on the outside looking in, unfortunately. All right, Ben Wallace currently in 7th place, 77.50. Wallace with lucky 7s, but I know he wants to put some lucky number 1s up there. As you can see, 1 minute on the clock for Wallace dropping in. We talk about Wallace blasting, no hander, no problems. Wallace cruising.
And then with that signature look back, the switch-footed way, talking Mike Aiken style.
So much height on the 720. Wallace just the big blaster for Great Britain. Great combination. Wallace is definitely a well-rounded rider. He is no one-trick pony, as Wallace just doing a perfect blend of style, height, and tricks in that combination. Double tail whip. Again, Wallace technically is in right now, but we have 8 more riders to go, so Wallace still could potentially get bumped out.
Going down really hard, but stepping up onto his feet.
Wow.
Really hard crash right there on that 360 double downside tail. That is...
Yeah, I mean, look, if you're at home and watching, please put your hands together right there for Ben Wallace. Going for a downside 360 triple tail whip, falling so hard, so committed, and then getting up. That had to have been a very painful crash, but Wallace is such a tough rider. That look back was awesome. And that 720 off axis at height.
We maybe take a look back at this textbook replay of
right here.
What happens when it all goes wrong on that downside double tail whip there, 360. That is exactly what you do not want to have happen. And coming out of that one,
so Wallace, one of the only riders who could pull that downside 360 triple tail whip. He's done it before in competition. It's interesting because it's the way Ben does it, it's because of his foot position. He's able to kick that frame around so far on the first spin. It's almost sometimes hard to tell that he's doing a triple because he has it so dialed.
got some highlights coming here for heat number 3. Let's check out some of the big action that just went down. Highlights coming your way right here from the action just happened. We had Justin Dowell, Eric Reise, Brandon Lupos, and Ben Wallace battle it out for some of the top spots, as we have Justin Dowell sitting on top right now with an 89.0. Eric Reise sitting in 4th place, but the upset, Brandon Lupos not making qualifications as he's sitting all the way down in 15th position.
Yeah, you know what? It's interesting to watch the highlights after we know where the riders are sitting, and it's almost you could reverse engineer and dissect a rider's run. So here was Lupos. He was so dialed until he wound up running into the difficulties in his run. I know that's got to be so upsetting and frustrated, but right there, that cash roll for Lupos. You can see that new built-up bike, the Australian colors, inspired by Dave Mira, to just say, you know what, I want to build a custom bike up just for the event because my riding is on that level. You saw the hyper built up for the Australian, and unfortunately having the difficulty, but it was definitely Irek Raizev's day as he does that triple tail whip transfer. And there's one in a 360 rotation. Taking a look right here. Oh, so good for Lupos. Folded upside down going into the vert wall. There is that 360 triple tail whip transfer. Lupos with the flare transfer, spot in the landing. And here is Wallace airing up and above. So cool. I mean, Ryan, look at Ben Wallace's height even on that 720. So yeah, there were your highlights from heat number 4. We still have 2 more heats that remain. Let's take a look at the standings, though, after those 4. We see Justin Dowell, 89 is the top score. USA and USA with Sandoval with an 87.7. James Jones for Great Britain with the 85. Irek Raizev with the 84.70. And we have our riders that currently have not qualified. We did see them in the semifinal. Lupos, Camacho, Peraza, and Nikulin. Those are the scores, but 8 more riders remain. These are our top 8 riders from our qualifier. So technically the action is going to be crazier.
Welcome you guys to Chengdu. We are live for the FISE World Series and the UCI BMX Freestyle Park Men's Semifinals. As we're about to get heat number 5 started, Declan Brooks is going to be first to take the course, followed by Jack Clark, then Logan Martin, our current FISE World Series points leader right now, and then Alex Coleborn. That's heat number 5 of 6 out here for the semifinals. Had some big action, but right now, who is going to push into the top 12 spots on course is Declan Brooks, doing it for Great Britain Cycling.
Brooks is one of my personal favorite riders to watch because he tends to find lines on a course no one else is doing, and he doesn't sacrifice his entire run. What I mean by that is sometimes to do a unique line, you have to basically set everything else up and maybe not have other tricks in there. But Declan is charging, and this is what we're talking about. Going up for the manual, and a bar spin in. That was enormous. Declan, so technical and so risky. Whoa. Getting the bar spin out of the manual. Precision for Brooks.
Wow, some huge highlights I was not able to completely mention in that run, but a beautiful 360 double bar spin, followed by some incredible transfers, and like you said, that step up on to the top of the vert wall, basically taking it like a huge sub box. Declan Brooks delivering a run that was unique in its line selection and in the trick variation, something that the judges are really going to put forth and see where he lines up, showcasing why he is in heat number 5, way down there, and one of the top men to qualify out of here in the Chengdu sun. Let's take a look back at some of the highlights coming out of Declan Brooks. There was a lot of them coming from that spine transfer. He takes off of that very skinny takeoff right there.
Yeah, and Declan getting that rotation around, spinning the bars. Here is a look at the no-handed flare. That's what I was talking about. The fact that he has this big manual. Look how high this sub box is. This is like jumping onto a 2.5-story building, and he bar spins with the transfer into the quarter pipe. It's so difficult to do that because you have to make sure your front wheel doesn't drop too much. And Declan right there raising it up with a 92. Only rider to go up into the 90s. He is 3 points higher than USA's Justin Dowell. Big run, big score, and very unique originality on the course for Declan. But he is going to keep things in Great Britain as our second rider to take it. Always has his own unique voice when riding. I'm talking about Jack Clark. The JC about to drop in 60 seconds. We are going to see some very original riding. Jack Clark's got the bar spin ability, he's got the tech lip tricks, and he's got the style in that 360 bar spin to tabletop.
Well, that's how you see it coming, Battle of the Nations, but as well, we have to note it's Battle of the Nations, meaning 2 scores awarded going for the top riders, as we have a lot of riders coming for Great British Cycling. 2 of the top ones here, as we see Mr. Clark throw his style down on course, seeing if he can get himself up into the high 80s or even into his 90s, like Declan Brooke, his fellow countryman, with a downside toothpick right there on the quarter pipe, followed by a 360 toboggan.
So that's what we're talking about. Oh, dang.
Strange position on course, just on the flat bottom there to mess up his footing.
Yeah, he had a little difficulty on the hip. His feet didn't go exactly back to the pedal. He was able to ride away from it, but as you're saying, on the flat bottom, he just weight went over it, clipped the side of the ramp right there. So a little bit surprising there for Jack Clark. He is going to have the pressure up on him for his second run. But Jack definitely can deliver the goods. Taking a look, that transfer was awesome because it was going into the box jump backwards. When you wind up hitting the box backwards, the takeoff is way steeper than the landing, increases the difficulty. Let's take a look. Bar spin to no-hander. And then there's the lip tricks we're talking about. It's on the coping of the ramp. And unfortunately, we don't have a highlight of it, but I think he had a little difficulty over the hip and then just shoulder checked the side of the spocks right there.
Well, it's going to be up to Mr. Essex, Jack Clark, to put together in run number 2, see if he can rival his countryman Declan Brooks, who is now currently sitting in the hot seat with a 92. Then second place, I believe, is Justin Dowell with that 89. So those are the 2 top scores right now to beat. But the riders are trying to push in to 12th spot. But a man who is sitting on top here, the FISE World Series leaderboard as we come into Chengdu, none other than Brisbane's Logan Martin. Let's take a look back to see some of his top action in 2019 here at the FISE World Series.
Series.
Logan Martin taking charge across the course here.
And Logan with the 89.30. So he is in that 3rd place spot. So there were full highlights, Ryan. There were a couple of highlights from Logan. The reason why he has those 2 8,200 scores is because 3rd place. 2 of them added up. Logan, though, has the goods to be on top with 1st place. He actually won the FISE World Series back in 2016. He wound up getting 2nd in 2017. He was out with an injury in 2018, but right now he is back and charging. Transfer, double bar spin 360. Logan Martin doing it for Australia, but also as a father, Logan has been on it. He just built one of the coolest backyard ramp setups in Australia for a rider. He has just been focused, Ryan, every day, riding as hard as he can, getting his tricks on lock, like that 720 bar spin.
2 720 combinations in his run, showcasing that he has so many tricks.
Yeah, and the thing to note with the combos that Logan's doing, we've seen him pull these tricks prior, but it almost seems as if he's doing a 360. And what I mean by that is just he's so confident and comfortable with it. Similar, we saw Roman's triple tail whip earlier, and we're like, hey man, how are you doing that so easily over a jump that you used to require a big booter? And we're seeing that for Logan as he does a triple whip over the hip. So literally using my example on his run right at the end. So Logan getting it done. So Logan, as we said, had 2 third-place finishes, Mr. Consistency in the season. That's why he's sitting in first with 16,400 points. But 2nd and 3rd place currently is Justin Dowell and Rim Nakamura with 16,200 points. And Eric Reisev and Brandon Lupos rounded out the pack. But take a look at the consistency, and I'm going to dare say ease on tricks like that 720 bar spin. Spotting the landing on that front flip. That is a wedge to wedge, pretty mellow.
As you mentioned, the ease, we definitely have to keep in mind that this is just the semifinals. These riders have a lot more tricks up their sleeve, and athletes like Logan Martin are definitely going to be reserving some of those ones for tomorrow's final that we're going to have happening Sundays. You see a 2nd place with a 90.4.
An incredible score in the second rider, push into the 90s, bumping Justin Dowell into third place. So as we see, we have a competition underway.
So we got Great Britain, third rider representing the UK, currently sitting in 16th place. This is Alex Coleborn. Coleborn definitely knows how to cut it up on the course as he charges over the box jump. Whoa, 360, I believe that was a triple tail whip, just holding on to the last second before he put the bike under his feet. Off axis barrel roll bar spin. Here we go, Coleborn, 720 bar spin. Nice, lofty, even rotation, throwing the bars in there. Coleborn with the tail whip transfer, Ryan.
Yes, getting it and doing the distance off that incredibly narrow takeoff on the side of the spine. Here we go, a couple lip tricks from the British Bulldog.
Opposite. Coming back in, this time going box to box. Oh, 3 times with the bars, Ryan.
Triple bar spin, like you said there, just getting the last bar in the nick of time before the landing. Another big transfer, and that blind side takeoff, 360 over top of the rooftop.
Wow, Coleborn putting down a big run. I'm gonna tell you, one of my favorite tricks was up on top of that sub box. Only rider we saw get tech up there, bar spin, foot jam, can back in. Difficult to do that, but it was also in the way that Coleborn did, just a little bit of fancy footwork. But he had no problem flying through the skies right here. Triple tail whip with the transfer in the 360, taking a look with the bar spin 720. You see on the second rotation around, he takes the body and puts it right into the handlebars to get that spin. He did have that big transfer with the whip. I mean, this was a huge run, Ryan. This entire thing is highlights, and we didn't even see that sub-box combo. So that was a big one for Coleborn. Hopefully his score will reflect that. So as we said, 24 riders in our semifinal here at the FISE World Series in Chengdu. Only 12 will be riding on to Sunday's competition. The two faces, Declan Brooks on the right, and we've got his teammate waiting patiently, Alex Coleborn, for his score. Two riders from the same place, different approaches on the course. Declan had that unique manual with bar spin. When a rider can bring something that's specific to the course in mind, the judges know that they have to cater their entire run around that, as opposed to maybe hitting a box jump, which would be similar at another FISE World Series, not taking away from any box jump tricks. But also, Coleborn had that bar spin, foot jam, can in on the sub box, which was unique. So at 84.90, it is going to be about 5 places away from Declan Brooks, but he is sitting solid as we have one more heat to go. So right now, we are going to go back to the top for Declan Brooks, our current leader, taking the course. So Ryan, let's see if Declan changes it up out here. It looks like he might wind up just cruising and coasting a little bit.
Definitely gonna just have fun out there on the course, tackling it like a playground. Just enjoying a little bit of fresh warm up in the sun. It's about 23 degrees with no wind and about the exact same weather forecasted for tomorrow's finals. So make sure you guys stay tuned. We have so much action coming your way. It's not just about BMX Freestyle Park, but we have as well dirt located in the background. We have an incredible skateboard street park course, as well as a lot of other activities going on for the families out here in Chengdu. You guys, make sure you check us out on social media. Follow us on Facebook at FISE.official, as well. Get us on Twitter and Instagram at FISE World, and hashtag your posts for FISE Chengdu to make sure that you stay involved with all the action. If you guys are also located in China, you want to stay involved with the action, locate us on our WeChat. You just have to go to WeChat Discovery Bar, type it into the search. You type in FISE, F-I-S-E, or type it in Mandarin if you know the respective characters, and you'll find our page Get your ticket, come out and join us out here in Chengdu. We are located in the Kingshui City Park, just about 20 minutes outside of the city center. So make sure you guys get your tickets, come join us. We want to see you out here for the action tomorrow. You see right there on screen, Declan Brooks, your current hot seat leader for the semifinals, the man who stood up into a 92. And let's see if Jack Clark can come back and answer to get himself a spot as well in the podium.
Yeah, Ryan, Jack Clark is going to need this run. He's currently sitting in 19th. He had that shoulder check into the side of the spine ramp, but right now he is cruising with the 360 bar spin to turn down. Jack Clark 20 seconds into his run. I like the foot plant off the wall, 360 bar spin to tabletop. We saw that in his first run, but he did it in reverse over the box jump. Cool to see riders take their tricks and apply them to different ramps out here. Clark, let's see it. Tail whip, feet are on the pedals. That is where he had problems in his first run, so he's already accelerating past it.
Wow.
540 tabletop, almost going off the side of the ramp right there. He was fully in control. It was just cool to see the way he transferred.
Dare to say one of the most expensive tricks we've seen on that Hurricane Parks vert ramp today, as he pushes through to the buzzer with a bar spin and a foot jam over top of the Jingrong Town spine right here. Jack Clark getting a full pull into his second run. Hopefully that's going to do it to get the points down, but we have so much heavy competition. We're going to leave it up to the judges on that one as we walk you through some of the highlights from Mr. Clark's run right here.
Yeah, I think that foot plant up on top of the vert wall, that's something with Jack Clark's riding. It's not only the big tricks, but he's got the little finesse, the attention to detail that goes in there as well. Like on that 540, the fact that he transferred so far over, he also hit his peg dark side. That's the front peg on that vert quarter pipe, hitting the underside. You could hear it just hit the coping, come back in. So Clark, his first run was that 19. Again, he wasn't able to complete it. He had the shoulder check on the course. And if a rider can't do that full 60 seconds, most likely they are not going to advance. Maybe a few years ago, maybe if this wasn't the FISE World Series Finals here in Chengdu, but you're going to need the full run. That's what Jack Clark just put down. He is going to need a 12th or higher. It looks like Jake Wallwork currently is sitting in 12th, so he has a 75.20. That means that that score or higher is what Clark is going to be looking for. You can see Logan Martin there on course and Jack Clark. Bam, 77.90. So Clark moving into the 9th. Thing to look at between Jack Clark and Bryce Tryon in 12th, they all are sitting in the 77 score zone. That is such a close deciding factor. If a rider potentially has 1 point, they could move up from 13th to 7th. That is intense, Ryan.
Well, Logan Martin's starting off, but having a little hang up there on that 360 bar spin to tuck. Coming on that transfer, he's currently sitting in second place with a 90.40. Definitely going to be into tomorrow's finals, but our UCI points leader right now, he's battling it out with Justin Dowell. They're only 200 points away from each other as we're well into the 16,000 points accumulated throughout the FISE World Series season. These two riders have been battling it out, and it's just going to be incredible to see who gets the top honors.
Yeah, Ryan. So not only are they literally battling out for the FISE World Series out here, but as far as our Olympic point standings going, they are both representing their national score for their country. Logan Martin for Australia, his combined score with Jake Wallwork. Australia is currently in second, and Dowell combined with Sandoval for the nation. USA is sitting in first. So we saw right there, Logan Martin was just going to cruise his second run, saying, hey, man, I qualified, I'm in there. The weather is perfect today, as you were mentioning, and that is what we are expecting more of for tomorrow. So the riders are going to say, hey, you know what? I'm sitting in second. That's a good spot. Because you got to balance out the risk-reward. You could try to turn it up a few things. This is a semifinal, and no rider wants to go down, or if you wind up having some difficulty and you're not able to then ride in tomorrow's competition, you got to balance that out. How much do you give it today? What do you save for tomorrow? Seeing new lines in the finals can definitely help. You want it to be fresh and exciting on the course, doing things that maybe no one else does. So that 90.40 will hold strong for Logan from his first run. Obviously, the second will be the throwaway. We see Alex Coleborn's name still highlighted because he is the last rider of heat number 5 who has yet to take the run. Coleborn from his first run, 84.90, holding strong in 6th. So we know that 4 more riders have yet to take the course. That means unofficially Coleborn will be in the finals.
A nice dip down 360 right there from Coleborn. Wow, it's such a big transfer. Coleborn going on top of the sub box right there. Foot jam again.
Yeah, so Coleborn's just cruising, taking it in, big lofty backflip. It's so cool, you know, just seeing a rider in his element without any pressure, a master of his craft like Coleborn, even doing a backflip, just a single version lofting, very cool. I mean, Coleborn's entire life has been dedicated to BMX freestyle, so even just witnessing a pro rider on course, not only on TV, but if you could see it in person, it is so impressive. And I say that because we are planning big stuff for next year. You want to log on to FISE.tv when the entire 2020 season will be announced. You got to make it out to one of these parties. Ryan and I both are very fortunate to come here. Over 1 million fans came out to FISE last year in the 2018 series. I believe we topped those numbers this year. Make it 1,000,001. Put yourself here. It is so cool. So Coleborn's score 84.9. That is obviously the one that goes as we have heat number 5 in the books. We're going to give our riders from heat number 6, our top qualifiers on the course, to warm things up.
Just had some incredible action go down for heat number 5. Sitting on top of the 92 is Declan Brooks, and in second place is a 90.40 from Logan Marin. Let's take a look back to see some of the top action at heat number 5. Had some great stuff come out of British cycling. 3 top riders, Declan Brooks, Jack Clark, and Alex Coleborn, all battling it out for one of the top spots here in heat number 5. You see right there, Declan Brooks, the man on top in the hot seat, getting that huge sub box, or stepping up top onto the vert wall with that manual to bar spin back in. Jack Clark right here answering back with a lot of his incredibly stylish tricks. Big tuck no-hander out of the bar spin right there. Then moving forward to Brisbane's very own and the FISE World Series points leader, current points leader right now, Logan Martin.
Yeah, Ryan, I want to note on that 720 bar spin Logan did, he was able to just pull his body in so tight and spin that second rotation around. I mean, I don't want to call Logan out for anything, but it looked like that 720 was actually very easy for him. Be interested to see if he's ever going to throw in that third rotation or spin over that box. You could tell he's put time at home. So cool that he's also been motivated as being a father, riding his backyard setup, and just watching his hard work here in the semifinal is such a thing of beauty. Right there, Jack Clark, I am just getting enamored by that 540 with that spin rotation almost off the side, and that is the key word, almost, because Jack Clark is very precise in the landing. So taking a look at our semifinals, top spot 92 of Declan Brooks, Logan Martin, Justin Dowell, Daniel Sandoval, James Jones, Alex Coleborn, Eric Reisev, and Marin Rantish are unofficially in. That means Jack Clark, Anthony Jean-Jean, Ben Wallace, and Bryce Tryon are going to be the 4 riders who could get potentially knocked out, because we have 4 more riders who have yet taken the course. And these are our top 4 qualifiers from our yesterday, where they took the course and their scores were higher than anyone else. So we see riders bring, as the contest progresses, harder and harder tricks. Maybe they rode it better than anyone else, but we will find out in just a moment, Ryan.
Welcome you guys to Chengdu for the FISE World Series 2019. We're live with the UCI BMX Freestyle Park men's semifinals, and it is the last heat, the sixth and final heat. These are your top 4 BMX freestyle athletes coming out of yesterday's qualifier, and we have a heavy hit coming your way. Andreev, Kostya, Rim Nakamura, Kevin Peraza, and Nick Bruce. A rider that I want to highlight is Kevin Peraza for some incredibly difficult maneuvers. I've seen him practicing. It's really showcasing a lot of the top features that Hurricane Parks has put forward on this one. But Kostya Andreev coming out of Russia is your first rider on course with a double truck driver to tuck no hander on that transfer.
So Russia sitting in third for nations points, and part of that 50% of the 2 riders is because of this man, Kostya Andreev. He has been ripping it up all season long. He is so talented, not only with these aerial maneuvers that we're seeing, but also with the lip tricks. He is 12th in points for the FISE World Series, 360 tail up the tuck no-hander, pumping over the corner of the hip, up the vert wall, and a 720 no-hander, floating that bad boy off axis as Russia coming back at us. Downside 360 tail whip. What? Slipping a pedal. I believe he put his foot on the frame and then went right back to it.
2 times slipping the pedal right there for Kostya. That's going to be a tough one to come back to, but he's regaining some momentum, getting some nice lip tricks right here. Kostya has 1 second left on the clock. It was a solid run with some incredible combinations. We'll have to wait and see what the judges think with those couple foot bobbles, let's say. One that I believe he came back from incredibly clean as he was able to link it up into the next run, but coming over the spine, not able to clean up the feed on that one. Let's take a look back. That was a 360 double bar spin to tuck no hander, then floating right here into a 360 double tail to tuck no hander. Some incredible combinations, 4 tricks in one for both of those tricks. Then slowly coming around on the rotation with that 720 tuck no hander. I really didn't think he had the speed, and that's where the first foot misplacement came up on that 360 downside tail, but came back strong, but then on that 360 double whip was not able to get the pedals on that one. So really going to impact his score, I'm sure, for those 2 tricks, but I'm really curious to see, is that enough even to make it into the top 12?
With tail whips in the mix. We are flying Japan Airlines with Rim Nakamura, your captain. This is a big run as he 720 bar spins. Wow, Rim Nakamura, we are seeing some highlights. Look at that 9,000 points from Hiroshima stop 1. That means he got a 2nd place. Rim Nakamura currently sitting in 3rd. As we said, the top 5 riders for our FISE World Series are so close in points. Right now, if you have never witnessed one of the most talented riders to ever come from Japan, you are in for a treat, because right now the sensation is dropping in as Rim Nakamura.
Oh my word, we haven't seen anyone touch the height that Rim just got off that vert quarter pipe.
Let alone a bar spin to no-hander. Nakamura backflip, triple bar spin 3 times around. One-handed X-up, so smooth with the handlebar cadence. Nakamura clipping a little bit on that 360 can-can tire grab. But he is charging back with the windshield wiper. 360 tail whip to tail whip, back in a pocket air double tail whip. Ryan, Rim's run is like a highlight reel so far, and he has 20 seconds to go.
Could use your incredible copywriting skill on that first air. We were flying Japan Airlines as Rim took action on this course. Incredible determination coming out of the young Japanese rider as he just charged into that quarter pipe. Haven't seen anyone tackle the start of their run like that, and ending off at the buzzer with that cork 720.
If you are Rim Nakamura, you do not need a landing. Blowing past that mellow landing of our spine box combo, and he is so in control, just holding on to the grips and tires and cruising away. So as we said, Nakamura could be one of the 12 to make it into the finals. We are looking at the height of Rim Nakamura, that combination bar spin to no-hander. You can see so high above all the riders. That's basically a vert ramp out there. Backflip 3 times around with the handlebars. So smooth on that tail whip to tail whip back in the 360. Look at the 720 landing flat and low, but you know what? He actually did that pretty dang smooth, even though he blew past the landing. And I say that because most other riders, if your name is not Rim Nakamura, you would have blown off your bike. So let's see if Nakamura can get a score. He is looking for 8th or higher. 8th currently held onto by Marin with the 78. So that is the score to beat. Oh yeah, 93.20. Wow. Japan going into the top. That means that he is going to be riding in our final, and that also means that Japan is loud and proud. All right, our next rider, Mexico's Kevin Peraza. He qualified in 2nd yesterday. Such an exciting rider. He is a ripper. The Mongoose Vans rider charging the course. Let's see, Ryan. Tire sliding across the vert wall.
This is how he came into 2nd place coming out of the qualifier. Some of the most fun watched riding that we have out there on course. So happy. Whoa! Talk about putting your style in that hand plant.
The word that keeps coming to mind right now is originality, as Peraza toboggan transfers over the box jump. Yes, 360 tail whip to inverted tabletop.
Love how he was already in the invert with the handlebars before he got into the catch with the feet. And coming up here,
yes!
Wall tapping that little hitching post.
Yeah, very unique wall ride, 180 half cab in. Peraza going up on the front press, 540. What? How did he keep that together, Ryan?
Wow, Peraza. That's all I have to say. Some of the most fun riding to watch in BMX or on 2 wheels, period. So excited to have this guy out here at the finale in Chengdu. Always a pleasure to commentate a run from Mr. Peraza. You see the smile and enjoyment just coming off the guy's face. So cool to see some of the tricks that he has just created under his own umbrella. Let's take a look back at some of the highlights. My highlight right there was the hand plant, as he was able to get on top of the coping and just tweak out the bike. Some incredible riding. Let's see as he does the tire slide across the vert wall.
Now look at his back wheel. It actually hit the other transition, but he was so uncontrolled, he was able to just pop right back in. Again, we said originality is the thing to think about while watching his highlights out here. So Peraza not only brought tricks that no other rider has done, but he also rode the course like no one else. Big toboggan transfer came down. He actually touched both grind ledges. He went and utilized the A-frame grind rail. He went up and down. He also had the Super Tech front wheel press, went 540. He had the flare, and then he also had that double tire ride on that sub-hitching post, landed fakie, and then half cab hopped into the ramp. Tongue twister, but imagine being able to pull all those tricks. If your name is Kevin Peraza and you are representing for Mexico, you just did that. Big ups, Kevin Peraza right now, so psyched. It is not up to us, though, to determine the score. The judges are going to give Kevin an 88.80. He will make it in the finals. So it looks like the originality was definitely rewarded. One rider remains. This is the USA rider, Nick Bruce. He hails from Youngstown, Ohio, currently local rider at Chengdu World Skate Park, puts equal emphasis on his well-being as fitness as he does on his riding. Representing USA, Nick Bruce charging in with the tail whip transfer, Ryan.
That's the biggest trick we've seen off that transfer and some of the highest amplitude we've seen on the box jump with that flip tail whip off axis, actually. Let's even say in a flat spin. Getting a nice invert right here for Nick Bruce. So we have our first place qualifier on course right now, showing you how things get done.
Yeah, Bruce, first time over the box, did that air traffic controller, the no-handed 360 backflip, and this time putting the combinations together again, a backflip double tail whip known as the helicopter. Bruce right now letting the USA colors really shine as he hits the transfer with the 360. Let's see Bruce as he's up on the sub. He winds up bypassing the sub and goes for the flare tail whip. Bruce with the X up opposite direction, backflip tail whip over the spine. Final moment for Bruce at the buzzer. And he is just gonna bask in the glory here in Chengdu as our crowd cheers him on, Ryan.
Wow, another heavy run coming out of your sixth heat here. That was your fourth rider to drop, meaning all of your riders have taken a run so far on the course today, with 4 more runs coming your way from our top athletes. Let's take a look back at some of the highlights here. That was that huge transfer tail whip coming out of Nick Bruce. Incredible 720 tuck no-hander right there as well. And then another big trick with that helicopter, the backflip double tail whip.
Yeah, now Ryan, I'm just gonna talk about that. You just called it the no-handed 720 over the box. He does it in between. I know some people could say the no-handed 360 backflip, and the only reason I'm just gonna highlight that for a moment is because that trick was done by the late, great Dave Mira, and I know that Nick always likes to pay homage to the legend with that. So I know that even if we were to talk to Nick, he'd be like, hey man, it's somewhere in between, but we're gonna say that unofficially, no-handed 360 backflip, air traffic controller, props to Dave Mira. So Nick Bruce, he was the last rider at heat number 6. The score he's going to need is better than Anthony Jean-Jean's 77.60. It is safe to say he did it with a 91.20. So that means that Jean-Jean is going to be bumped out right there.
And tough luck goes there for the French rider as he is not able to make it in, but another man into the 90s, Nick Bruce right there.
So the pressure is going to be on for Kostya Andreev. He is the only rider of our heat number 6 semifinal who has not qualified yet for the final. Kostya is currently sitting in 17th place with a score of a 71.20. Jack Clark for Great Britain has a 77.90. So right now, Clark is the only rider who could potentially get bumped out if Kostya Andreev has a solid run here.
Wow, 360 double tail whip to tuck no hander, pardon me.
So let's see, Kostya Andreev, he had some difficulties in his first run, but he's no stranger to the final, because he is leading the charge for Russia with points, along with Irik Ryzev. Russia sitting 3rd for the nation as we work our way towards Tokyo 2020. Right now, it's about Chengdu, though, as he... Oh! What? That is how talented you are, going for the no-handed off-axis 720. Looked like he slipped a grip and actually did the no-hander a little bit prematurely, but put them right back on. Bar spin, downside, 360 tail whip. Come on, Kostya. He has to make it work for these final thoughts, Ryan.
5 seconds left on the clock. Tuck no hander gets into the little bowl section right here with a 360 bar spin and a tail whip, finishing things off for the top Russian rider.
This is going to be a tough moment. I'm taking a look at our judges. They have to see where our rider fits with all the other runs we have today. So 24 riders, 2 runs, 48 runs, and they have to see where this second run of Kostya will wind up fitting within the deck. And it's got to be higher than 12th place Jack Clark, who has a 77.90. We remember Jack Clark had some difficulty in his first run, but Kostya in his second went through that double bar spin looking for the back peg, and look at that. That was that grip slip I was talking about right there. Didn't necessarily get his hands back on. Maybe was going to toss the bars, but I don't know how he pulled it off, but I don't even understand half the things Kostya does.
Yeah, some incredible action coming your way right there from Kostya, who's currently sitting with a 71-2-0. You said he has to beat Great Britain's Jack Clark, who has a 77, currently sitting in 12th place. If he wants to make it into the finals, a rider right now who is qualified 4th position yesterday's qualifier, we're just talking about wanting to make it into the finals. That's how fierce the competition is out here today in the sun. You see also right there Rim Nakamura, who is sitting with your top spot out of today's semifinals with the 92.30s in the top right corner of your screen. The 2 Red Bull riders battling it out right now, but will Kostya get enough to make it in?
Kostya Andreev's score came in at 82.60, so it means that Kostya Andreev will be riding to the finals. Unfortunately, I believe that means Jack Clark unofficially will be sitting out in tomorrow's final. Rim Nakamura, Japan's rider, had the 93.20. He was one of the only 4 riders to be in the 90s. And look at this demo of height right there. Somehow going even higher than imaginable. Wow, Rim blasting over that spine, landing low off the back of the bike. Thankfully, he is okay. You see the big smile under his mouth guard right there. So obviously this run will be a wash for Rim. You might use this as a little practice out on the course right here. 33 seconds. Rim is just gonna have a good time, twisting a one-hand backflip X up. Just a casual double bar spin. You know what, no problem. Rim we've seen do 4 bar spins in one air, and that is what a casual double looks like for Rim Nakamura. So Rim, obviously that score will be the throwaway. The first score, the #1 score, will be there. You see some love and support from fellow riders, Kevin Peraza. You know, one thing I just want to highlight as we still work our way through this here, BMX is about bringing your all and being your best out there. Yes, this is a competition, but the thing that I like to see the most out here, riders bring out the best in each other. That's the main part of the contest. They're all friends, they ride together. Obviously everyone wants to be on top of the podium, wants to get the biggest chunk of that hard-earned euros out there. But when a rider can bring their all and all the other riders put their best out there and they push themselves to do new tricks that have never been done, and they can all have that top score and come out on top, that is when you got a great contest, and that's what riders love about this, where they can push their riding to a whole nother level. And if you could do it with a lot of creativity like Mexico's Kevin Peraza, well, in my opinion, that is a winning formula for getting the crowd psyched. Peraza with the big stretched out Superman seat grab. Obviously Peraza has qualified. He's going to be in the competition for tomorrow. So we are just going to see Peraza having a good time out there.
Peraza is just one of the most fun riders to watch in BMX. He really tackles the course in a completely unique environment, really influenced with a lot of street riding in his BMX, has so much control of the bike and really just takes park competition to a different level. It's so incredible to watch with tricks like this G-turn 540 on the front wheel the whole way. Just has so much fun and has so much creative style on the BMX bike. A blast to have out here on the FISE World Series, and as well representing Mexico for the Olympics rival.
Kevin just having a good time out there. Walking the dog across the park right there. A little quick tire pedal slide on the side of the ramp. So Peraza definitely has qualified along with our next rider, Nick Bruce. It's got to be a good feeling, Ryan. Rider gets out there, gets it done in their first attempt on the course. Then they can just put on a good time and a show like that Superman seat grab, full extension of the bike and body. Kevin hitting his peg, dark side, 270 back around into the transition, and look at this, just walking the dog across the top of the ramp.
Have fun, have fun.
So Peraza, his score, obviously that first one, 88.80, sixth place solid. Bruce, one of the 4 riders in the 90s, the 91.20. If I had to take a guess, he is going to use this as an extra practice lap out here where no other rider is on course and he can shine. So Bruce doing it for USA Cycling. As we said, it spends his times riding out in Chengdu World Skate Park in Ohio. Scott Powell and Nate Wessel built the first Chengdu World almost 20 years ago, and it's rad to see riders fostering the energy like Nick Bruce. That was awesome, Ryan.
Never seen that.
That was awesome. Completely inverted in that 720. That was cool.
That looked really beautiful as you came around. Maybe not one of the highest scoring combinations you do in a 720, but I think one of the coolest looking ones I've seen so far. Nick Bruce is just having fun out there on the park and getting a bit of practice in before tomorrow's finals. He's sitting with a 91.20. Well, good to make it into tomorrow's. He was your first place qualifier. He is on a roll out here in Chengdu, and hopefully we'll be seeing the same weather for these riders tomorrow. An incredible 23 degrees Celsius of heat as we have down here in the beautiful park.
Ryan, I was tempted to yell at Nick, hey, do that again, but thankfully with this slow-mo, we can take a look as he does that inverted 720 coming around. That was so cool. His bike completely twisted and pretzeled upside down, and he winds up spotting the landing and just coming down smoothly. So Nick Bruce's run at 91.20. As we said, 4 riders were in the 90s. So cool to just see the level. Ryan, this was a semifinal.
Yeah, an incredible testament to BMX Freestyle. As you guys see here, just what shocking riding we've had go down. And of course, we just finished heat number 6, and that was your 6th and final heat out here. We take a look at our leaderboard with Rim Nakamura from Japan sitting on top with a 93.20. Declan Brooks with a 92 even. Nick Bruce rounding up the top 3. Then Logan Martin, Justin Dowell, Kevin Peraza, Daniel Sandoval, James Jones, Alex Coleborn, Edek Reisev, Kostya Andreev, and your 12th and final person making it into the finals is Marin from Croatia. A huge shout out to all the other BMX athletes who came out here to put their names on the board, but such incredible talent as you guys see there right on the deck. Jack Clark unfortunately not being able to make it past the bubble position. Anthony Jean-Jean, Ben Wallace, Bryce Tyrone, Jake Wallwork, Paul Tollan, Roman Guillermoznov, Alec Danieluti, Brandon Lupos, and 3 others making their way down to the podium. An incredible start right there to the FISE World Series finale out here in Chengdu. Thanks you guys for tuning in. That's been an amazing semifinal. What do you think about it?
Yeah, the level of riding, unbelievable. I don't know how it's possible event after event, but this is the finals. I can't even imagine what's going to happen tomorrow, right? We had Hiroshima, Montpellier, and now to witness a taste of what's to come. Our riders didn't put it all on the line today. They're saving some. I can't even imagine what's going to go down, Ryan.
Well, I'm super excited to see them all put it on the line tomorrow for Sunday's finals. Make sure you guys stay tuned. We have a lot of action coming your way. It was all about Rim Nakamura from Japan out there today. Thanks you guys for tuning in. I'm Ryan Meyer, this is Daryl Now. Join us again for the FISE World Series finale here in Chengdu.
Mexico. How do you say that?